MS2.
Bien le bonjour.
Crew loud and clear on OE2. We'll use one for the default. Houston out.
Et cela c'est classe. Non, on a 3 heures à tuer le mec. Il a 3 heures à tuer.
CDR.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna clear a couple of those messages on your screen here. Just want to give you a heads up that you'll see that.
Copy all.
Trois heures à tuer, bon il y aura du montage mais bon c'est pas grave hein. Ça me fera du boulot mais pas tant que ça hein.
CDR, OTC, Orion Earth 1.
On va fermer sur Forge.
CDR.
Yes, sir. Perform crew suit leak checks per 10.1.1. Crew ingress and vehicle pre-launch config, steps 2 through 4. Annunciation of LCC O-ARS-001 will occur.
10.1.1 crew ingress and vehicle pre-launch config steps 2 through 4. Going in work now.
This is Mission Control Houston. We are following along as the 4 crew members of Artemis II work through their voice checks, then the umbilical connections and various pathways to get communications from all of the...
Refresh on your screen.
CDR.
Yes, sir. We're gonna look to do a quick refresh on your screen if you guys are okay with that.
Hey, firm, just let us know when we can continue in 10.1.1. We'll go hands off.
Referring to the procedures that they have through the various phases of ingress and some of the checkouts needed to prepare for today's launch. Here in Mission Control Houston, the IVA or intravehicular activity officer
J'ai pas en français.
the leak check status.
Est-ce que j'ai en français?
Watching as the suits pressurized to once again confirm that the suits are in a good
Je suis pas bilingue, c'est
configuration
dommage.
ahead of launch. Of course, for the teams here in Houston, launch is
Est-ce que
just the
TF1
beginning.
le
The first
diffuse?
flight day is jam-packed with activities. Shortly after main engine cutoff, Integrity will enter into a coast phase while still attached to the interim cryogenic propulsion stage, or ICPS, and prepare to deploy the solar arrays.
Non, je veux
With
pas
power
TF1
being
non plus, je
generated,
TF1
Integrity
non plus,
prepares.
je direct.
Go ahead, NTD.
With that refresh, and you got to go to proceed with your 10.1.1.
Picking up 10.1.1, step 2.3 through 4.
Picking up the procedures, the crew again working through the various steps to prepare for launch, standing by for suit. This is Mission Control Houston. With visors closed, the pressurization tests can commence. We'll stand by for word of a good leak check on all 4 of the crew member suits for the Artemis II mission. Again, this is the very beginning of a very busy flight day for our 4 crew members. After launch, they have a series of burns to prepare for. The first major burn being the perigee raise maneuver that allows them to continue in low Earth orbit, and the next being the apogee raise burn that puts them in a high Earth orbit. This is an orbit that takes them around the Earth for nearly a day, 23.5 hours to be precise, and allows the teams, including the astronauts and the flight control teams, to check out critical systems ahead of committing to the next day's translunar injection. But before they even call it a day, Integrity will separate from the ICPS and the
Je fais juste l'annonce, les gars, je suis à vous dans quelques minutes.
The crew will command the Orion capsule to separate from the ICPS and turn around and approach the upper stage, but not dock. This is to test Orion's in-space maneuvering capabilities and provide further confidence in docking to another lunar space vehicle like the Human Landing System that will be part of the Artemis III mission ahead of future moon landings. These are just a few of the highlights of the very first of 10 flight days as we await for confirmation of good leak checks inside the capsule. There's a lot more to this mission. A reminder that this is, of course, a test flight. The purpose here is to demonstrate procedures, systems, and life inside Orion on a mission around the moon for the first time, and give further confidence in the capabilities that are charting a return to the lunar surface.
3 heures à poireauter, ta dire la dada. Viens ne pas parler, la dire la dada. Est-ce que j'ai quelqu'un pour faire. J'ai besoin de mes tests son, bande de blaireaux. J'ai du mal à voir comment ils sont placés. Il y en a. Eh?
You may be able to see from this view.
En fait, ils sont comme ça, ok. Ils sont
The
installés
suits
comme ça.
themselves inflating. This is again
En fait, ils sont.
a prototype.
Ils sont 4, d'accord. Ils sont 4 en fait.
Verifying that the suits are
Ah, d'accord.
free
Oui,
ahead of,
oui, putain, ils ont 2 étages. J'espère par contre pour eux que les sièges sont extrêmement confortables parce que ça va durer 3 jours. 3 jours de mission comme ça. Ah, je les plains les mecs. Je fais bien moi sur la terre ferme. C'est pas plus mal, hein. C'est pas plus mal, hein.
Here in Mission Control Houston, we are continuing to follow along, standing by for confirmation.
J'ai pris une thé, j'ai une bouteille de 2 de Pepsi. Bon, il y a quelques fois dans le live où je devrais aller pisser, mais
Continue to monitor the countdown to launch. Megan, we'll send it back to you over at the Space Coast.
Hey Gary, thank you so much.
Mais
Yes,
ça va,
we're
tu
waiting
vois.
for confirmation of a successful leak check for all 4 astronauts. Why don't we go back to Daryl again, who has been following along with the launch countdown as we
Ça va,
inch
ça devrait bien se
closer to the
passer.
opening of our 2-hour launch window.
All right, thank you, Megan. And yes, getting some good communication. It's great to hear from the crew inside.
Ça devrait bien se passer.
As simple as a comm check. It's really good to hear their
C'est bon, je
voices
peux couper, toi,
as
ça va.
they move through those
Ça va, tu peux
various
trouver
comm
dans
checks
le
and then get ready for their
Ça devrait bien se passer.
checks. Fantastic views inside Orion that you're looking at now.
J'espère.
Giving
Par contre, ça
updates
ressemble vachement à des
on
baskets.
weather
Hein.
outside. We're still 80% go.
Je m'en fous, c'est des semelles de basket. Hein.
Our launch window, which starts
Leur
at
pompe, là.
6:24 p.m. Eastern Time and closes at 8:24 p.m.
D'accord, en fait, il
Eastern
y a des
Time.
techniques sur le côté.
That's the good news. The bad news is that we've got some rain showers that are
Captain,
starting to head
putain.
in.
Ouah, la
Something
fuite
may miss
d'hydrogène,
that.
elle est.
Wouldn't matter if it,
Oh,
rained on it,
l'hydrogène
or not,
qui.
though. It's received some rain earlier today. Water isn't going to
J'espère que c'est de la condensation et pas une
out
grosse
there at
fuite.
this
Hein.
point. But the rest of the area might be getting a little bit wet, which may include the hostess, so keep an eye out for
Mais à
that.
mon avis, c'est juste de la condensation, mais genre, elle est. La condensation,
As
elle
we're
est,
watching
elle
with
est
the
violente là.
astronauts, inside the Orion Integrity spacecraft,
Alors,
you'll be
qu'est-ce que c'est? Soit d'excellent.
hearing more and more from them.
En fait, c'est le gaz qui se sublime.
Mission specialist number 1.
Parce qu'en fait, le truc
She,
est
not
sous pression
only
comme
is
comme une grosse
making
bouteille
history
de soda en fait.
Visors open, suit loop leak check complete.
Grossièrement, c'est ça. Hein. C'est tellement sous pression une fusée.
Okay,
On dirait
you
pas. Hein.
heard the suit leak check complete. They check those suits for leaks in astronaut crew quarters. They check them again inside
Et
the
sauf qu'à la
spacecraft.
place du nine qui se boit, c'est du carburant hautement inflammable explosif, quoi.
Our astronaut support
C'est ça une
person
fusée.
moving around. Turned off
C'est
the
ça, une
camera, and so
fusée.
now we're looking from outside the Orion spacecraft, looking towards. Oh no, let's see. Get oriented here. Oh, there we go. Back inside, we've got the view. But basically, what I was saying about Christina Cook is that she will have the role of reading.
CM is ready for closeout, performing video suite using drag-on camera.
OD.
Voilà. Là, on sera pas mal.
She will have the role of reading out a pressure reading that
Je
tells
regarde
the
si tout
team
se passe
that,
bien au niveau d'ici.
And CDR or NTD?
Go ahead, NTD.
Yeah, we're gonna do another cleanup on those suit leak check messages that we got from since we're done with that now.
Integrity copies.
Yeah.
C'est propre comme ça.
And that's communication
propre, c'est
going
propre.
between Orion Commander Reed Wiseman and NASA Test Director Jeff Spaulding. As I was saying, Christina Cook will be reading measurements from the counterbalance assist arm. So you're going to hear her be asked by the NASA Test Director to read that. That CBA, counterbalance assist arm, it's mechanically latched by the closeout crew using tools, but there's a hydraulic assist. It's pneumatically opened and closed rather with a pressure assist that helps open it up. Not only that hatch, but also the last hatch. There's two hatches there that we'll see that will be closed, but this is in case of an emergency out there at the pad. If the crew, for some reason, needed to exit quickly, then they would exit the spacecraft by pulling that lever, which would open both hatches. Those hatches are heavy. The Orion hatch is
Ça me
hundreds of pounds.
Putain, ça me rappelle quand j'ai regardé le lancement de la Saturne 5, ça.
OTC copies.
Bon, j'étais pas né, mais j'ai regardé les rediffs, quoi.
And just an update on the launch countdown, continuing to monitor the team's communications here in Firing Room 1.
La dernière ligne
Everything
droite.
going really smoothly so far. We don't have any significant open constraints to launch at this time, so we continue counting down.
Ouais, on va mettre au fond, lui, hein.
And for now, we'll send it back to the hostess with Megan and Nicole.
Thank you so much, Daryl. And so we heard some of the communications over Orion to Earth 1, and it sounds like we are now moving into the hatch prep and closure phase. We will now start to see the closeout crew getting out of Orion soon so that they can start getting ready to, again, close up Orion, close the two hatches, and then get out of the pad.
Yeah, the closeout team will take the hatch seals off, and they'll inspect the seals, make sure everything's ready to go, and then do a few last-minute configurations before they close that hatch. And then, like Daryl talked about, then Christina will have a role in looking at the CBA there. So.
Yeah, you might have heard them say over the loops again that drag-on camera. So basically, it's a camera that they can move around, and you might have seen it in a couple of our shots already. But they will take that camera and literally go and inspect the seal that. There's two seals that go around the entire area of the hatch just to make sure that everything looks good, and that camera feed is being directly shown to NASA teams who need to monitor that.
Yeah, they want to make sure there's not a single hair or piece of dust on those, make sure that there's no damage and everything's ready to go so that the seal, they will do a leak check on this hatch seal as well. Make sure it passes.
Yeah, and we'll know they're doing that because we will actually see one of the closeout crew members with a hand pump, and they will pressurize again just the seals, and they have to see if it will hold pressure for just a minute, and if it does, then they will go ahead to pressurize the entire Orion spacecraft. And then that again is to make sure that the spacecraft is holding the right amount of pressure. And that one's a lot longer. It'll take them like 8 minutes. Like it takes time to pressurize it, then they have to hold pressure, and then it takes time to depressurize it.
Right, and they want to measure the difference in pressures at the beginning and end of that and make sure that it holds the right amount of pressure so that when they get to the vacuum of space, obviously the capsule holds its pressure.
Yep. Okay. Well, again, as we continue to watch operations that are happening at the pad inside of Orion, why don't we go over to Banana Creek? It's one of our viewing locations here at Kennedy Space Center. They will have a spectacular view, and we actually have NASA's Leah Martin there chatting with a big group of people surrounded by a lot of folks on bleachers there.
Hey, Megan, yeah, tons of people out here today, thousands of people gathering at Banana Creek to enjoy NASA's next big mission and humanity's next great leap today. It's a gorgeous day, and I'm joined here actually by some people who are probably the only people on center who are a little bit more excited than me to see this rocket lift up. Where are you from, and why are you here?
So we're from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. We're a group of 7 aerospace senior engineering students traveling here with Josh Dobbs, former quarterback of the University of Tennessee, with his extraordinary Dobbs Foundation.
Now, you were actually telling me a little bit earlier, you're here local, you're from Orlando. What's it like being an aerospace engineer and then having the opportunity to come back here to the Space Coast and see this mission lift off today?
It is absolutely amazing. I feel like the little 9-year-old girl inside me is so excited. Like, I'm from around here. I grew up watching launches in my backyard, and so this seems like such a full circle happy moment for me.
Now, you are an aerospace engineer looking hopefully to join the workforce in the future. How does it feel to be here and see firsthand what that work does?
It's just so cool to see what I've been working for the last 4 years and then 12 years before that just actually be physically happening in front of me. It's something I never dreamed of as a kid.
And I'm actually joined here by the pastronaut himself, Mr. Josh Dobbs. Now, you have a history with NASA as well. You did an externship here. And how did that kind of play into your passion for aerospace and then the foundation that actually provided this opportunity for these students today?
100%. So I spent a month here around the Artemis I mission, which was a tremendous opportunity to learn about the space program and also what's next. And so to be back here for Artemis II, and unfortunately, Artemis I went in the middle of the season, so it's surreal to be here for Artemis II. And with my foundation, like, the goal is to be able to take advantage of the opportunities that I've had and pass them along to the future of the industry and give them the opportunity to see what all their hard work can accumulate into. So it's an honor to be here. We're really appreciative of all the engineers and all the hard work that's gone into this moment, and we're excited to watch history happen today.
Absolutely, and as a group, I think if you guys had one well wish for the team today, what would you say? I think we can all join together and maybe say, go Artemis. Go Artemis.
That was a fun interview, and again, just so neat to see all the people who are here. I mean, still hours before liftoff. Not even hours before liftoff, but hours before a 2-hour launch window. So people just really committed to being here and seeing it in person.
Yeah, you can see the Banana Creek is already buzzing.
Yeah.
There behind Leah. You could hear the chatter in the background. It's an exciting time.
Yeah, you could tell that it's a lot louder than we noticed because we just have very good mics, but you know, she's obviously yelling over a huge crowd there. So super fun, super exciting. And yes, I hope that we all get to see liftoff here shortly. Okay, so as we know, Victor, Reed, Christina, and Jeremy will have their hands full during their mission. So for some of their test flight objectives, let's go back to Megan Carter at the moon board.
All right, as we have seen from those camera views, their capsule is very compact, obviously. So let me show you a few cool things about this piece. The Orion capsule is going to only be about 16.8 feet in diameter and a whopping 10.5 in height. Think of it about the same cubic feet as 2 minivans. So obviously every piece of that capsule has been planned with purpose. And a really great example of that is going to be these seats that we have seen that live view of. Now these seats are going to be out for launch, re-entry, and splashdown, but in between they are stored in between to give them more room for daily activities and things like that. While they are on board, obviously they are going to have a lot of things to do. One of those is going to be to manually fly Orion, as we've discussed, but they also have several other objectives as well. And they're going to be doing lots of system checkouts, checking out the service module, making sure everything is working correctly. They're also, like I said, going to have a chance to manually fly. Now, this was taken during one of their training simulations, but as you can see here, they will have advanced flight displays, hand controllers, touchscreen interfaces, so much to work with and practice with as well. Now, while on board, they will also have the ability to eat those shelf-stable meals that are designed specifically for microgravity. I think I saw somewhere that one of their meals is going to be mac and cheese and brisket, so that makes the Southern and me very happy. All right, but they are going to have also some time to look at some things like power and propulsion. They will have 3 key propulsion systems that are going to help power Orion as well. And speaking of power, I want to bring you back to the service module real quick because I wanted to point out these 4 solar panels. These are going to take about 18 minutes to unfold like giant wings, and they're going to stretch 62 feet from end to end, and these are going to help power the service module and in turn provide what the crew needs for their journey. So as you can see, spacecraft is built specifically for what we need and to guide them and get them home safely. All right, back over to you, Megan.
Thank you so much, Megan. You know, it's taken thousands of people many years to get to us to where we are today. Let's meet some of the people of Artemis who've made this flight test possible.
I am the Artemis Launch Director.
I'm the Orion Crew Survival System Manager.
I am the Artemis II Chief Training Officer.
I'm the SLS Launch Integration and Mission Operations Lead.
I am the Recovery Director. And I'm Boeing's Core Stage IPT Leader at Kennedy Space Center.
I am the Artemis II Entry Flight Director.
And I'm the Closeout Crew Lead for Artemis II.
Our job is to design the spacesuits that the crew will wear for the Artemis II mission. The team here at Johnson Space Center in the Orion Crew Survival Systems Lab does pretty much everything involved with processing the suits, designing the suits, qualifying the suits, testing them for the Orion mission.
The role of the Chief Training Officer is to manage both the planning and the development of how we are going to train our astronauts and run our simulations for our flight control team for the mission, and then go implement that plan.
Recovery team is responsible for 3 things. So recovery is what we call our nominal recovery situation, where we go recover the crew and the capsule at their designated landing site. Rescue is in case we do need to rescue the crew or they landed somewhere else that we did not plan. And then the retrieval is us getting the capsule if they did land somewhere where we did not expect them to.
My job on SLS is to manage the operations architecture on the SLS program. One of the specific things that we do is support launch operations. It means a lot to be a part of this Artemis team, to show the next generation in seeing what may come.
I am responsible for our core stage processing at Kennedy Space Center. My team is responsible for that core stage, and it's our responsibility to make sure that core stage is safe, built correctly, and there's going to be 4 of our astronauts, and it's going to get them to their ride around the moon.
I've been a flight director for over 10 years now. I worked on the Artemis I mission, and after that mission completed, I was assigned as the entry flight director for Artemis II. I can't wait to see the hatch open after splashdown. That's when we know that our mission will be complete and the crew will have safely returned to the moon and back to Earth.
Closeout Crew is responsible for getting the astronauts up to the white room, getting their helmets and gloves on, getting them into the vehicle safely, connecting all their umbilicals, making sure they're ready to go for launch, and then closing the crew module hatch. The reason we do this is to expand mankind's knowledge. If I can be a part of that, doing anything, I want to do that.
The launch director role really is to step back and kind of take that big picture view of launch. How are we doing on any NCs? How are we doing on our timelines, our procedures? Artemis II is a beginning. It's going to inspire a new generation. It's going to uncover science. It's going to serve as a pathway to places that we have never been before.
And to meet more people of Artemis, you can head to the link we're going to put up on your screen there. Just, again, really nice to see all the faces that have put in the work, the time, the hours, the dedication to get us to today.
Yeah, so many professionals that worked so hard on this mission.
And what was really fun to see is, you know, we interviewed Taylor Hose, closeout crew lead, as he said, and that's who we are now seeing inside of the White Room as they are getting ready to close out Orion and close one of two hatches. We have the side hatch of the crew module as well as the launch abort system hatch, correct?
Yeah, the astronauts are in the capsule. They're ready to go, and now the White Room is very busy as they're getting ready to close both of those hatches. It's a great shot right there where you can see them. Almost looks like they're doing that hatch seal inspection that we talked about.
And so, Nicole, as we continue to see them get ready to close that smaller hatch, again, the crew module side hatch, let's take some questions now.
Sounds good.
A lot has changed since Apollo, and I have a few questions about what's next. What part of the moon are we exploring through Artemis, and what are some of the key points that NASA needs to consider when planning missions like this?
Were you expecting to see Scarlett Johansson? I think that took you.
Yeah, I mean,
took you aback.
We've talked about this, but everybody has an interest in this mission. You know, it's humanity trying to explore and go back to the moon. And I love this question. You know, what part of the moon are we going to? You know, eventually we want to get to the polar regions, the South Pole specifically. We think that there are volatiles there, so water ice, something that can be harnessed as a resource as we create the permanent base on the moon and then try to get onto Mars. But getting to the moon is a tricky mission. You know, we're going further than we have in a long time, and you know, on the International Space Station we're 250 miles from the Earth, and so we're pretty close. We resupply that spacecraft pretty often with cargo missions, but the further and further you get away from Earth, the more you have to think about the lack of cargo, the comm delay. You know, there's a communication delay the further away you get, and so there are different and unique problems as we continue to explore further and further out into the solar system.
And there is so much to learn about the moon, so it's no surprise that, yes, even though our goal is to have a moon base at the lunar South Pole, the lunar South Pole is not the main focus of this lunar flyby. So instead, the crew is going to be focused on observing the far side of the moon. So this is actually an animation of what teams expect the moon to look like if the crew launches today. So this is, of course, the side that faces the moon, and this is the far side of the moon, which when, again, the crew does their lunar flyby on flight day 6, we are expecting this will be their view. What an amazing view and an opportunity.
Yeah, you know, there's so much to learn from this particular mission, because obviously we're not landing with this mission, and so they actually potentially could see the South Pole and kind of scope out what our landing regions look like in the context of the entire moon. But also they're going to see parts of the lunar surface that have never been seen before by the human eye, and so they're going to take these detailed notes. They're going to record themselves talking about what they see. You know, we do a ton of geology training as astronauts, especially this Artemis II crew. They did a ton of geology training working with scientists to learn how to pick out the unique portions that we want to go study. You know, what is the context of the moon? What parts of the moon look interesting and look different? You know, the impact craters that we talked about earlier. So really trying to take all the pictures, take all the observations, write down, talk about their observations, and record as much data as we possibly can for the researchers back here on Earth.
Yeah, it's so important to, yes, we're all talking about what they hope to do during this 10-day mission, but you really do have to think about all the training that goes into this. I mean, you have 4 crew members who won't, you know, have the support the way that they've been having this. I mean, they'll be talking through communications, but you know what I mean? It's just them and the moon, right? So they need to be fully aware and equipped with everything that they'll need to do to be able to accomplish the objectives that we hope to accomplish during this mission.
Right, and their specific flyby around the moon, you know, the lighting will be different and the path will be different depending on when we launch. If we launch today, it would be different from tomorrow. And so, you know, they actually had to learn the geography of the moon so that they can orient themselves when they're on the backside of the moon, because they're not going to have communication. You know, they're going to have a, I think, 45+ minute comm blackout while they're while they're on the far side of the moon, and so they themselves have to know what things look like on the moon, how to orient themselves, and how to get the data that we're looking for.
Yeah, really ambitious mission. Excited to be here at the start of it. All right, so another check of the clock, 2 hours, 57 minutes and counting to the opening of our 2-hour launch window for Artemis II. This pivotal test flight comes 250 years after America began its journey as a nation. As we celebrate that milestone, a special live performance now of our national anthem by singer Ann Wilson.
Oh non, l'hymne américain. Avec mon fond de cocktail. Ah non, d'accord, elle est au bâtiment d'assemblage. Et là-bas, il y a le spa de tir. C'est vrai que c'est pas comme chez nous. C'est pas comme chez nous où vraiment, nous, c'est le bâtiment qui recule. Et la fusée reste sur place. Parce que si c'est le machin qui pète sur le pas de tir. Évidemment, blanc sur le drapeau américain, enfin états-unien, pas américain. Parce qu'on dit souvent américain, non, c'est états-unien.
A beautiful rendition. Honestly, I'm a little emotional, a little speechless.
Yeah, that was gorgeous.
Yeah. I mean, again, we are a nation of explorers, a nation of curious minds. And to see us again 250 years after our Declaration of Independence was signed to when we are trying to return to the moon for the first time in more than 50 years, really powerful.
Yeah, leading the way back to the moon. It's exciting.
Mm-hmm. And that's so important to us. You know, we do want to be the leaders in exploration, but we definitely know we can't do that alone. You know, we often hear NASA leadership say that, you know, this is not something one nation can do. This is something that is a collaboration of nations, and that's why we have European countries. We also have Canada, again, joining us on this ambitious test flight.
Yeah, of course, you know, it goes back to the old proverb, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. And we want to go far. We want to get onto Mars eventually, and so we're going to get to the moon first, and you can't do that alone.
So thank you again, singer Ann Wilson, for that beautiful rendition, again, reminding us of what it is we are trying to accomplish for all, by all. We are now back inside the White Room with the closeout crew. Again, backup astronaut Andre Douglas, number 2 there, just outside in the White Room, which is right outside Orion there, with the crew seated comfortably inside. As you can see, they've dimmed the lights a little bit. The crew has the opportunity to set the ambiance, if you will. They were given the opportunity to adjust the lighting as they see fit, again, just so that they can get comfortable. It's kind of like when we are on a plane and you get the opportunity to...
Sure, yeah, you don't want the bright lights in your eyes. Also, you want to be able to see the screens well, or see the, you know, the tablet on Jeremy's knee well, so they're going to adjust the lighting to what makes sense for the mission.
And we saw in that very quick shot there, our best camera view of the 2 hatches is actually that drag-on camera, like we were saying, that kind of moves around. So sometimes it's hard to show that. So there you have it. You can see that the closeout crew has closed the side hatch. And so right now, that's a panel that they have to close out in order to then close the next hatch, which is the launch abort system hatch. And so, Nicole, can you just quickly, again, talk to people about the two hatches, again, crew module first, and then the launch abort system hatch?
Yeah, so the crew module hatch is the one they're working on right now. They just got closed. You can see he's torquing those bolts down. And that is the hatch that completes the Orion capsule. And then you have the launch abort system, which actually is kind of almost a shell that goes around the capsule and holds onto the capsule during launch. And it has its own separate engines that can pull the capsule away from the rocket safely in the case of an off-nominal data point. So it's actually looking at roll rates and attitude and thrust and all sorts of different data in order to make sure the launch is safe. And if it's not, then the launch abort system will pull the crew module away and get them into a splashdown zone safely.
And as we wait for the crew to complete closing that side hatch of the crew module, let's head over back to Banana Creek, where we have Leah Martin standing by with the person who designed this mission's zero gravity indicator, named RISE. It was second grader Lucas Yee from California. Hey, Leah.
Hey, Megan. Yes, of the many special guests we have with us today, I think one of our most exciting guests is Lucas, who's joining us, like you said, all the way from California. He and his family actually worked this as a group project to design the zero gravity indicator. Lucas, can you tell us a little bit about your design?
Yeah.
So you named him RISE. Can you tell me why you picked that name?
It was very remote, representing the Artemis II launch and Earthrise. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
So were you really excited to find out that you won the competition and that your zero gravity indicator would be going to space?
Yeah.
So how does it feel? We're actually just across the river right now from Artemis. We can see it from where we're standing. How does it feel to know that design you created is actually currently on that rocket, just a couple hours away from going to space?
Ah putain, en fait, c'est un vrai truc
Really,
officiel.
really, 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 really surprised and very happy.
And very happy. Now, Mom, you were telling me on the way over here that it was kind of hitting you what was happening. Tell me a little bit about that.
It's definitely very surreal to be here in person. That Commander Weissman said that it's for all and by all. That we couldn't have said it better. We're just very grateful to be here. Super, super excited.
And we're so excited to have you here too. Now, Oliver, this is your first launch too, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And how does it feel to be here just a little bit away from watching the first group of astronauts in your lifetime on their way to the moon?
It feels like very, very happy and surprised.
So if you had one word of encouragement or something to say to the crew who's sitting on that rocket right now, what would you say?
What?
Go Artemis.
Go Artemis.
Go Artemis. Thanks so much, Megan.
I would say have a nice trip.
Yeah. You would say have a nice trip?
I did hear that answer. I would say have a nice trip. You know, Leah, that was a hard question. You know, it's really hard to come up with the spot what to say to the crew who's about to make history today.
Yeah.
And so the Artemis II crew, again, ZGI, zero gravity indicator. It's a plushie, a soft toy that is brought in to the spacecraft with astronauts so that it can be a visual indicator for when we have reached the weightlessness of space, right?
Yeah, you saw a little replica there that Lucas had, and then in some of the views in the cabin view, you could see it swinging and hanging earlier. So I think actually Jenny was the one who installed it into the capsule.
Oh, really?
Yesterday, yeah.
So we have to unpack a lot here. We got to talk about Jenny, who we will get to here in a second. But then, yes, we will also go back into the capsule so that we can show you where the ZGI is now. But the ZGI was chosen by the crew after a contest where the crew asked for submissions. They got submissions from around the world to, again, design their ZGI that is going with them to the moon.
It's kind of like any other road trip.
You need clothes, food, a map, your favorite toy. Really. Except this toy has a job to do up there because this is a zero-gravity indicator. While not a scientific instrument, this safe and soft object tells the strapped-in astronauts that they've reached weightlessness. For Artemis II, the crew wanted a one-of-a-kind ZGI, so we asked you to come up with it.
Thanks everyone for sending in your entries from around the world. Over 2,600 of you submitted.
And we loved seeing all of your contributions. It was a really difficult decision because each design had a unique quality that stood out to our crew.
In the end, we were able to narrow it down to a top 5 from Finland, Canada, Peru, and 2 from the United States, Kansas, and California.
In the end, we went with one called Rise. It was a design inspired by the Earthrise photo taken on Apollo 8, which is very special to our crew.
With the winner chosen, next came the task of bringing it to life here in the Thermal Blanket Lab at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center. This lab specializes in custom materials to protect sensitive spacecraft equipment and is perfect for creating a ZGI that meets the rigorous safety standards of NASA.
Because you have to be concerned with whether the thread's going to outgas or if it will hold up, if it's flame retardant. This is the Rise ZGI doll. All I have left to do is to close the opening here and hand sew the hat on, make sure its stuffing is stuffed in there. And we have our pocket here for the SD card.
And on that tiny SD card will be millions of names submitted to virtually join the crew aboard Orion.
Got Rise. Not the real one, obviously, but this is a replica. I mean, so clever for Lucas and his family to design.
Yeah, I love that he replicated the famous picture that we all love of Earthrise, and then I love that the bill represents the space in between the moon and Earth. It's just such a cute and wonderful way to represent this mission.
Yeah, and again, Earthrise, very important to this crew. It harkens back to the picture that was taken by the Apollo 8 crew where they saw Earthrise, and so very appropriate since, again, now here we are going to see Earthrise again with this mission.
Yep.
So yeah, so this is little Rise here. And then you heard in that video that there is an SD card that is zipped inside with the real ZGI with the crew. So get this, more than 5 million people submitted their names as part of NASA's Send Your Name to Space campaign. And actually, Christina said that her niece and nephew's names are inside that SD card.
How cool is that? Her nieces and nephews are gonna go with her.
Yeah. Love this. Love that people are engaging in such a cool way. And actually, if we take a look back inside of Orion, we can actually see the actual ZGI inside with the crew. As we said, the purpose of a zero gravity indicator is to show when we've reached the weightlessness of space. Now, I know that it's probably dark in there because, as we said, the crew decided to just dim it a little bit for them. But here again, as we see, read on your left.
and created Earthrise. We all really like that. Send it back to the host desk.
Thanks so much, Daryl. Yes, we really like that, and we really like Rise and Lucas. So thank you for that. That was really cute. Okay, so again, here we are in the big box here. We have our full view of the rocket, looking glorious on there with, again, some clouds, but still weather is good for launch today. And then we have the closeout team continuing to do work in the White Room. We got confirmation that they have successfully completed pressurizing the counterbalance pressurization. Basically, as Daryl explained it before, the side hatch for the crew module is very heavy. So in order to open it, there needs to be pressure applied to it, and that's what we just completed, right?
Right, that's exactly it. So the CBA, that counterbalance assembly that we're talking about, has to be pressurized. It's a pneumatic system to help. So in the case of an egress, you know, Christina's the one that has to open that hatch. So once she gets it unlatched and unlocked, then that pneumatic system will help move the hatch. It weighs a lot, and so the average human cannot open that hatch by themselves. And so that's why we want to make sure that the system is pressurized, that it's not going to leak, and that it is ready to go in case they need to open the hatch.
So that is complete, and now what is happening are the seal leak checks. So that is in progress. Again, 2 seals go through the entirety of the hatch, and we will take the seals to pressure, hold it for about a minute, and just make sure that it is holding pressure. Again, we want to make sure that the crew has a safe, pressurized environment in any sort of situation while they're in Orion.
Yep, that's right. So we're going to take a look at it. We're going to take a look at the starting pressure, and then after a certain amount of time, we'll take a look at the ending pressure, and then there are certain tolerances that we will accept for flight.
2 hours, 37 minutes and counting from the opening of our 2-hour launch window today at 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time. After liftoff, it takes less than 10 minutes to reach Earth's orbit. Let's learn more about today's ascent profile with Gary in Mission Control.
Hey, Megan. We are monitoring here in Mission Control Houston. Flight controllers are looking at data from integrity in the Space Launch System during the countdown. We're looking at some of the events happening in the White Room now and just making sure that all criteria is met to commit to launch and ascent today. It's the team you see in this room that would be looking after ascent, which is a very dynamic phase of flight. And after solid rocket booster ignition of the Space Launch System, it's this team that takes over control of the mission. There are voices you'll hear upon ascent, calls being relayed between Stan Love, the Capcom you see here in this shot in Mission Control Houston, that's the voice from this room, and the Artemis II crew on a communications channel aptly named Orion to Earth. Here are the calls you may hear during this part of the mission. Capcom Stan Love, his first call after responding to the crew's successful roll pitch maneuver at 30 seconds is AMT high. This notes that should we lose just one of the main engines, an alternate mission in low Earth orbit can still be achieved. At 1 minute 25 seconds, you'll hear max Q on PDL. This notes that reaching the moment of maximum dynamic pressure on the spacecraft. This event happens to be in line with a communication switch to another ground station, the Ponce de Leon Inlet Tracking Annex, located about 35 miles north of Kennedy. At 2 minutes 45 seconds, you'll hear SM primed upper stage RCS ready. This means that the European Service Module propulsion system that's prepared for the next phase of aborts after the launch abort system jettisons, and the reaction control thrusters on the inner rim cryogenic propulsion stage that enable pointing and maneuvering are ready. At 3 minutes 50 seconds, you'll hear voice check on TDRS at the Kármán line.
Yes.
At this point, the launch abort system has jettisoned and revealed the Orion capsule underneath. This check verifies that the now exposed Orion antennas have a good signal over the tracking and data relay annex, tracking and data relay satellites, which is part of a geosynchronous satellite network and the same assets that are used aboard the International Space Station. This communication switch happens to be at the Kármán line, a widely recognized boundary about 62 miles, statute miles, or 100 kilometers above the Earth's surface, where the air is too thin for conventional aircraft to fly and marks the point where our astronauts leave Earth and enter space. At 5 minutes 16 seconds, you'll hear the call 3-engine press. This notes that if one of the 4 main engines on the SLS core stage were to fail, 3 engines can carry the crew to a nominal main engine cutoff and proceed with the expected mission timeline. This is an important call that gives more assurance of continuing today's mission. At 7 minutes, you'll hear expect nominal shutdown. You'll hear this call should the main engine performance be as expected up to this point. Shutdown plans can vary and may impact G-forces experienced by the crew or future burn plans, but a nominal shutdown is more indicative of continuing the mission on the expected timeline. At 7 minutes 30 seconds, you'll hear AOA open. This notes crossing into a new abort profile. At this point, an abort would use Orion engines to escape the core stage, and the altitude and velocity are enough to make it 1 lap around the Earth and aim for a splashdown in the Pacific Ocean instead of the Atlantic. And then, of course, shortly after 8 minutes, you'll hear nominal MECO. You won't hear MECO right away. Teams here wait until the core stage has separated and the trajectory is confirmed as expected before that call to the crew. Now, this ascent profile is approximate, as there may be calls that move a few seconds depending on the trajectory, and of course, these are the calls and times for a nominal trajectory. Teams in this room have been training extensively to prepare for any and all scenarios, and they are confident and ready to take this crew into space today. In today's pre-brief, the flight director, Judd Freeling, expressed his confidence to the team, citing the hundreds of simulations to prepare for this very moment. These are the calls you'll hear during ascent less than 3 hours from now, but now we'll turn our attention to the countdown to launch and send it back to you, Megan, at the Space Coast.
Thanks so much, Gary. Now, one of today's 4 astronauts, of course, Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen. Let's go now to Jasmine with her next guest.
Thanks so much, Megan. Yeah, we're joining you live now from the Operations Support Building here at Kennedy, where crowds are starting to gather, and we're honored to have Lisa Campbell of the Canadian Space Agency joining us. Lisa, Jeremy Hansen is about to make history as the first Canadian to venture to the moon. What does that milestone mean for your agency?
Thanks so much, Jasmine. It's wonderful to be here. It's such a special moment, both for our astronaut colleague, Jeremy Hansen, but also for Canada. We're here because of decades of public investment in space robotics, in space collaboration, and so for our country, we're very proud. He's so ready. He's been waiting for this his whole life, preparing, training, and he's a wonderful example of Canada.
Yeah, and that's a perfect way to capture Jeremy. He really has been prepping for this his whole life. This will be his first space flight. So what has it been like watching him become part of this Artemis II crew?
Well, as I mentioned to you, I've known Jeremy since 2020, and he's a colonel, a fighter pilot, a father, and he really is a very dedicated, passionate human being. So both for him to realize this goal of being an astronaut and flying, he also is hopeful that witnessing that will raise awareness about the value of the space program, of the benefits here on Earth, of exploring the universe and our place in it.
Wow, that's beautifully said. And really, this international collaboration has been going on for quite some time now. We've worked together in low Earth orbit and now going into deep space together. So why is it so important that we have these international partnerships?
It makes us stronger. We can go faster and further together. Canada is one of the original signatories of the Artemis Accords, and Canada and the United States have been partnered for more than 60 years in space.
Wow, that is phenomenal, Lisa. And this really is a team effort in many ways. We also have Jenny Gibbons. She'll be listening in on Capcom. What is her role going to be like?
So Dr. Jenny Gibbons has been training all along as the Canadian backup with the Prime crew. Last night, she was in the Orion capsule checking out all of the communications, making sure all of the systems test out and work perfectly. And then she will be among the first lunar Capcom, helping the astronauts navigate during their mission.
Wow, Lisa, that is so exciting. Any final words for the nation of Canada before today's mission?
Just, we are so proud, so excited, and we can't wait to welcome Jeremy home.
Oh, fantastic. Lisa Campbell, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Jasmine.
Of course, and with that, let's get back to NASA's Megan Cruz.
And right now,
go ahead. Ma'am, CBA press has been completed. Did you see any drop in pressure?
And MS1, we saw just a little bit. It is just over 2,600 now.
Copy. Thank you, ma'am.
Again, a call out to mission specialist Christina Cook. Again, it was her responsibility to monitor the pressure on the counterbalance system that will help open the side hatch. And she did report a drop in pressure, but it seems like it's within nominal limits.
Right. They might have had a small drop, but you know, we have a starting pressure and an ending pressure, and as long as the difference isn't too high, then we will take that, and the engineers know exactly what they're looking for in terms of that delta pressure.
And so again, that milestone on the checklist of things that have to happen before they launch today, that is complete. The crew, again, still inside comfortably as the closeout crew team work to close the side hatch. Again, a separate seal leak check, followed by a full cabin leak check, and then they will close the last abort system hatch.
Lots to do still in the White Room and marching down the countdown timeline well.
And so Bill, again, number 3 there, he is holding a silver flex hose. That hose is what will be connected to Orion in order to do that cabin leak check. So again, it does seem like we continue to march down through the milestones in this countdown. Hopefully lifting off today within our 2-hour launch window that opens at 6:24 p.m. Now, right now, people inside the Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex are learning about this mission. There are great exhibits there about the rocket and Orion, and of course, our Megan Carter with the moon board.
All right, Megan and Nicole, yeah, you mentioned that checklist before launch. That checklist is going to continue during the mission, as well as there are several vital objectives that we are hoping to accomplish with this mission. So we've talked about the rocket. We've talked a little bit about Orion. Obviously, during Artemis 1, we had that test flight, and there were no humans on board. That is our one big difference for this one, and we are going to have that crew this time. So what are they going to be up to during this mission? Let me tell you just a little bit. Now, for Artemis 1, like I mentioned, we were really focused on the SLS, making sure it had the power and capabilities that we needed. We were also checking out the Orion spacecraft in deep space environments, making sure that it was good to go. Now for Artemis 2, we are going to be taking the testing for Orion to the next level by adding that human component. So those test objectives are going to start even before launch. Like you mentioned, they are out there making their way through that checklist. But these objectives are going to start now, and that includes safety. So one really great example of safety is going to be something called the egress baskets. They're out there in the spacecraft, obviously, and should a situation happen to come up, they are going to have something called the egress baskets they can get in, and those are going to zip line them essentially down to the ground within seconds to safety. Another great example of those safety procedures are going to be the LAS, or the launch abort system that I mentioned earlier. Just a reminder, that's the one that can pull the crew and capsule away from any danger within a few minutes of into the launch. Now, those are just a couple quick examples, but our recovery teams have been training extensively, quite a lot, to make sure that they are ready and prepared for any challenging situation that could possibly arise. All right. Several other objectives that we are going to be looking at are also going to be communication checkouts. That is going to be vital. I know we talked a little bit earlier about all the maneuvering that they're going to be able to do, but we want to make sure that they have full communication ability from space to ground so that we can fully support them here. We are also going to be checking out those life support systems. Obviously, we've talked a lot about the service module and what it is going to do for the crew, but we want to make sure that those life support systems are fully functioning, obviously, before we send them farther into deep space. That's going to be critical for them. So on top of being able to maneuver the spacecraft and check everything out, we are also going to be making sure that everything is fully functioning. So as you can see, big part of this mission is to make sure that the spacecraft, the hardware, and all the operations are working, and that the data is going to make sense. And speaking of recovery, we are also going to have the opportunity at Splash splashdown to recover that launch or that flight data, and we're going to be able to take that back, analyze it, and make sure there are if there are any enhancements we need or changes we need to make before our next mission, we'll be able to do so. So lots, they're going to still have lots to do. They're going to stay very busy, obviously. And with that, I will turn it back over to you, Megan.
2 hours, 25 minutes and counting, and the crowd, check it out, continues to grow at our Banana Creek viewing location. They will have a great view of launch, and we will go back now to Leah Martin, who's standing with her next guests.
Hey, Megan, yeah, we're surrounded by thousands of people, some here local from the Space Coast, but we actually have quite a few people who have traveled a pretty far distance to be with us today. I'm actually joined here by a group from the International Space Station Ambassadors Program who have come from all over the globe. Saku, you're here from Japan, you've come Val from Mexico, and then we have brother and sister Cosma and Jesco here who are visiting from Germany. You actually told me that you participated in the NASA Rover Challenge in Huntsville. How was that experience, and how is it kind of participating there in Alabama and then being here today?
So it is an amazing experience because you meet so many young people with visions, with dreams, with ideas which inspire you and motivate you. And it's even better to be here now to see the SLS launch because we are going back to the moon, and that's what we're working for.
Absolutely. And, you know, the Artemis missions, we talked a lot about the Artemis Accords and this being an international effort. You were actually telling me, Saku, that you're interested in becoming an astronaut with JAXA, pursuing your PhD to be able to do that. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, actually, I applied for Japanese Aerospace Agency, the astronaut selection like 2 years ago, and then I didn't make it all the way, but I'm still working on it, and hopefully I can be at the launch pad sometime, and then I hope to go back to the moon and Mars, and yeah, I'm working on it.
Absolutely incredible. And Val, you're from Mexico. We were talking a little bit about women in space. This is a team who, you know, is predominantly made up of women. What is it like knowing that Christina is on that rocket right now, about to be the first woman to travel around the moon?
I think that's such an amazing news. It's just so inspiring that we are taking the first Black person and also the first woman to the moon. It's just the first step in humanity and a big step in equality as well.
Megan, a lot of excitement here, not just in Florida, but from around the globe, and we're keeping our eye on that rocket, and we're ready to see it lift off.
Thanks, Leah. Yeah, a lot of excitement, but also a lot of inspiration. Again, this is part of, or a big part of the reason why.
130.6.
Good readback, aux 1 voltage, 131.3.
I copy 131.3.
Again, those numbers you hear, they're referring to specific steps in the launch countdown that the crew have to step through in order to get us to launch today. And so we were saying, yes, inspiration, a big part of why NASA does what it does. We want to go together and we want to explore together to learn more about ourselves and here on Earth.
Yeah, humans, I think, naturally want to explore, and so going together, like Lisa said earlier, we're going to go farther and faster than we possibly can alone. And, you know, what a way to celebrate that today.
Yeah.
Going back to the moon in the first time in over half a century.
And we have that great shot there in our small box of the rocket on the pad. And at the very top there, our Artemis II crew. Right now, we know that the crew has begun the closeout crew has begun doing that cabin leak check. So they are currently pressurizing the cabin, and it sounded like it would take about 6 to 8 minutes for them to get to pressure, and then they have to hold that pressure for 5 minutes, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so there's quite a bit of volume. You know, we talked about it being a 6-person tent. I think it's 330 cubic feet. Don't quote me on that number, but you know, they have to pressurize that capsule, and then, like we talked about, take that initial pressure, wait 5 minutes, and take the second pressure.
Yeah, and then it takes about 6 to 8 minutes again to depressurize the cabin. So this process will take a few minutes.
Ascent switch configuration complete.
OTC copies. Thank you.
And then after the cabin leak checks, then they will finally close the last abort system hatch. So again, chugging along in the countdown, really excited to, again, continue to hear the crew's voice inside Orion, stepping through all the procedures.
Yes, it's exciting to hear them making progress, right? It's all good news hearing the crew talk to the ground and working together to get to the launch.
And what I think is really cool is that this is the first time NASA is going to have astronauts in low Earth orbit, but also in deep space at the moon. So here's a message from some of the crew aboard the International Space Station right now.
Hello, Megan, and a big hello to everyone around the world counting down together to the launch of this historic flight test. If we were in microgravity, we would also be on the edge of our seats.
Here on the International Space Station, all of us are honored to have the chance to wish our fellow explorers Godspeed. Throughout human history, the moon has sparked our imagination, curiosity, and wonder. With our return to the moon, we're not only going to be learning about its history, the history of our solar system and of our planet, but also about our place in the cosmos.
We are so proud of the Artemis team and so excited for what you will see and learn on behalf of all of humanity during your trip around the moon. As we push the boundaries of exploration and expand our knowledge with scientific discovery, we advance our collective civilization together as one.
Test flights are crucial to the mission of exploration. We all learn in test flight schools that the more challenging the missions are, the more incremental the test should be. This Artemis II mission is one more increment on the way to further exploration.
Thank you to the crew, our friends, for your dedication. And from the entire Expedition 74 crew, thank you to all of the teams that had a hand in getting the Artemis II mission to where it is today.
Back to you, Megan, as the countdown continues.
Oh, I love that so much. I just love seeing them there. And again, you have to remember the International Space Station is an orbiting lab. We learn so much there, and we're going to learn so much more from Artemis II, because this isn't just a test flight. It's an opportunity to learn more about the moon, deep space, and how humans can live and work so far from home. So here are some of the science objectives that NASA hopes to accomplish with Artemis II.
Artemis II is our return of humans to the moon, flying around the moon on board Orion. But along with that, we're doing a lot of great science.
One of the exciting things about the Artemis missions to the moon is that science is actually a fundamental pillar of why we explore, why we're going, what we're doing in Artemis.
I think it's incredibly exciting that not only are we testing the vehicle, but we're testing science on board. Science where the astronauts are conducting experiments, science riding along with the astronauts. We have astronauts looking outside the window and really observing the lunar surface.
It will help us understand the deep space environment. It will help us understand how that environment affects our astronauts, our systems, and life in general.
So deep space is a challenge for us because you have to leave Earth's protected magnetic field. Here in low Earth orbit, the crew members are protected from some of the harmful radiation. Going to the moon, they'll no longer be protected, so they'll have a higher radiation exposure.
Much like Artemis I, we have so many radiation sensors and detectors that are inside the capsule so that we can fully understand and appreciate the radiation environment for protecting our astronauts. In my hand here, I'm holding a tissue chip model. This is the exact design that's going to be flying alongside the astronauts. We'll be collecting samples from each of the crew members, and we can make these organ chips out of the astronauts themselves. So every crew member will have their own avatar on board, and then upon return, we can evaluate that deep space radiation environment and what that compares to the astronaut themselves. Not only are they going to help change the course of medicine for the astronauts, but revolutionizing that on Earth as well.
We're looking at sleep, we're looking at team dynamics, we're looking at how you interact with the environment. We're also looking at the immune system, so what are the biomarkers? We're using saliva as a method to study hormones and different things in your body that may change during a mission like this. And then finally, how do we function after microgravity, being close to the moon, then returning to Earth.
Which will ultimately help us achieve our goal of getting humans to Mars.
And then on top of that, we have an opportunity to look at the moon from deep space on the far side for the first time in over 50 years.
Having human eyeballs and brains back around the moon is going to unlock a new generation of lunar science discovery. The human eyeball is capable of taking in so much data in just a split second. They'll be able to tackle impact history, volcanic history. They'll be able to look at how the albedo, or kind of the shade and hue of the moon and the color of the moon, can tell us something about how that terrain evolved over time. We're integrating science in ways that have never been integrated into human exploration before. We have a front room mission control flight controller position called the Science Officer. We have a brand new science back room where it's basically our brain trust of lunar scientists and geologists supporting the crews of the future. And Artemis II will allow us to really test how this works so that future missions are really set up for success.
We'll also be deploying some CubeSats. They're small shoebox-sized spacecraft of their own. They're each provided by another country, one of our partners. As they conduct their research, they'll complement what we are doing at the moon with Orion.
It is so incredibly exciting to be a part of this mission.
And it has been, really one of the privileges of a lifetime.
I can see the work I'm doing benefit crew members right now and benefit the crew members in the future. So it's incredibly exciting and it's very rewarding.
As this rocket launches humanity off of the Earth, we'll be setting the stage through our science to prepare humanity to leave Earth and explore the solar system.
C'est pas plus mal, hein.
And what we learned during this and future Artemis missions to the moon will eventually get us to Mars. Here's Jasmine Hopkins again, now with Nikki Fox, Associate Administrator of NASA's Science Mission Directorate.
Thanks so much, Megan. Yes, we're back on the balcony now, joined by Dr. Nikki Fox. Nikki, in this nearly 10-day mission, we are covering a lot of science, from CubeSats to tissue chips. What are you most looking forward to learning?
Oh my goodness. I think for me, the most exciting thing is actually being able to interact with the crew while they are flying, doing this historic journey on the far side of the moon. They are going to be seeing pieces of the moon that no human eyes have seen before, which is really spectacular. It's going to be an interesting trajectory. Some of it is in darkness. Then at the Terminator, so in darkness, they'll be able to look for like impact flashes and things when micrometeorites pummel that poor moon. And then at the Terminator, they can see shadows and interesting things, which kind of gives you depth perception. And then, of course, in the sunlit, picking out everyone's favorite craters. Also, if we launch today or tomorrow, they will see a total solar eclipse from the Orion capsule. How cool is that?
That is very cool. We are thrilled for this Artemis II crew to be able to see the moon in a way that we've never seen before. What is so unique about that far side? Why are we going there?
I mean, honestly, it's just, it is unique. It's very different to the near side of the moon. The actual sort of terrain, the morphology, it's very, very different. And so it will be very exciting to see that as we're going past that.
Absolutely. And Nikki, we are performing a lot of science at the moon this year, actually, not just Artemis II. Can you speak to the commercial lunar landers we're planning to send?
Yes, we are very, very proud of our commercial partners as they take our payloads for us to the lunar surface. And very excited. Next one up is Blue Origin's Blue Moon Mark 1 going. It's got some science on it. It's got the scalps that went on the Blue Ghost. So we'll be able to sort of look at that plume as it's coming down onto the lunar surface, and then also the laser retro reflector that will be the array that's up there too. So even on that first test flight, packing it with science as much as we can.
Wow, Nikki, so much science. It's hard to keep track of everything. But the unique thing about Artemis II is we're sending crew. Can you speak to the importance of the human element of science?
Absolutely. I mean, we can program, like we do with our beautiful rovers on Mars, we can program them to do certain things, and it's what we think we need them to do. When you have an astronaut up there, they can make that sort of like really unique split-second decision. The thing I'm most looking forward to is when they think they're going to be looking here, is hearing one of them say, "Oh my goodness, look over there." And I think that's just incredible about how we do that. Also, flying our tissue chips with the astronauts, our Avatar experiment. Here we go, Avatar.
Wow, look at that.
And that's got the tissue chips samples that matched to the crew, so we'll be able to monitor the effects of microgravity and radiation on that human tissue as we prepare for more and more missions to the moon for longer and longer durations, and then off to Mars.
Wow, Nikki, so much science ahead of us, but first we have to launch. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much. Go Artemis.
Oh, of course, go Artemis. And with that, let's turn it back over to the countdown with NASA's Megan Cruz.
Nikki is so fun. She has so much energy and so much passion about the science. And again, yeah, it's just so important to remember that so much science is happening with this mission. It's not just to test out the hardware and the life support systems.
Yeah, you know, you saw the science video, and then we talked to Nick. Man, there's so much going on, right? We talked a little bit about the lunar observations that we're going to do, and then, you know, she talked about, made a really great point about, you know, the human eye can pick things out that a camera or a robot can't necessarily pick out. And so that's why we're sending humans, but also we're not just doing the lunar observations. The Avatar, like, that's a really cool experiment. You know, they took blood samples from the crew, and then they used those stem cells to make bone marrow and create those little Avatar chips, which is like, feels like scientific, you know, sci-fi movie stuff. But, you know, we're going to look at radiation. We're going to look at all sorts of different scientific experiments. You know, we got the little CubeSats. We're going to go look at space weather. Lots going on.
Yeah, even collecting some of the astronauts' saliva, you can learn a lot about the body through the saliva. So just really a lot in a small amount of time in a small capsule.
Yeah, you know, scientific discovery. That's why we go back to the moon.
Yeah. And so again, her energy just so oh my God, I can't find the words. So
wonderful,
awesome. So anyway, yeah, just really again, thank you, Dr. Nikki Fox and Jasmine. And so Nicole, what about answering more questions?
Let's do it.
Okay, great. First one, what was the word I was trying to get at? No, I'm kidding. Let's have the first question up on the screen now.
Et donne 2 heures, on va s'envoler.
I know we got him. I see him being asked.
And CDR, O2 and Earth 1.
Je déconne.
For your awareness, scrubber cycling is about to be restarted.
Évidemment, pour la bouteille vide, je déconne. J'ai des shots à côté.
Integrity copies.
Je regarde juste un truc sur mon téléphone. Et on y go, hein.
All right, let's try that again. Can we get the next social question, please? What are the G-forces experienced by the Artemis astronauts during launch and re-entry?
Ooh, you know, these are actually pretty similar.
Voilà, c'est ça ce que je voulais, voilà, parce que j'ai pas eu de test micro depuis quelques temps. Du coup, là, ça va un peu mieux ou pas?
And then, you know, we talked about the secondary burns that they will do to get away from Earth, but you know, for me personally, it kind of felt like we got slingshotted off the Earth, is how I like to describe it. So, you know,
j'ai envie de pisser, mais attends. Oh merde, on a vu la marque. Fait chier. Il y a une bouteille de 2 litres là, qui est passée. Dans ce petit verre qui est très sympa. Hein, voilà. Cul sec. Exact, cul sec le verre.
That's fantastic news. Again, so the spacecraft is holding pressure as expected, and so now they will depressurize it. It will take about 6 to 8 minutes.
Yes.
Bon.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nicole.
Like we talked about, continuing to march towards the launch.
Voilà.
Yeah, so the G-forces
Ça me casse plus les couilles.
And it's kind of a slow build, and you can get all the way up to
ouais, cul sec, t'inquiète.
During the launch, and often
ça ressemble un peu, hein. Ça ressemble un peu à la fusée Artemis. À la fusée Artemis, hein. C'est drôle, hein. Je déconne, évidemment.
Ah merde, il m'a bouché. And then very similar G-forces on the way home. So slow, steady build up to about 4.5 Gs as the rocket actually decelerates. You know, you heard in one of the packages, when they come back, they're going to be going 7 miles a second.
Voilà.
And so you have to slow down somehow, and to do that, you have to actually, you know, when you brake in a car, you feel those G-forces. And so for the astronauts, it will just be, again, into the chest based on the orientation.
Great. Thank you so much for that answer, Nicole, and for that question. We're going to continue to try to take as many as possible. Again, you know how to send them to us at NASA Artemis. But now we again have another question for you, for our audience. We want to know, what part of Artemis II are you most excited for? Liftoff, Earth views from Orion, lunar flyby, or splashdown? Tell us again on NASA's Instagram or Twitch accounts, and we'll share
bah
your
ouais, sûrement, parce que ouais, y a les transferts de Oman à faire, mais ouais.
I know, I don't know either. I'm excited for
bah je crois que c'est 3 jours aller, 3 jours retour pour la Lune.
All right, now let's head back over to Banana Creek again. The crowds there, really excited, people coming.
Ouais, en fait, sur la Lune, tu prends ta semaine, tu fais ta petite semaine, tu vois, tu fais 3 jours aller, 3 jours, tu te poses, 3 jours retour. Bon là ils ont dû faire et retour Robert Kai, mais ils vont faire une Apollo 13 pour les tests.
We talk a lot about the Artemis generation and about the students who are going to become the next generation of dreamers, of engineers, of scientists and technologists. And I'm actually standing with a group of those students here today. Our local high school has actually implemented a really neat new program in the spirit of being able to create these pipelines for employment and engagement. Can you tell me a little bit about what Merritt Island High School is doing?
Sure. Well, this is a new program, first of its kind here at Florida. And basically what we're studying is astronautics and aviation, kind of blended the two together. We have flight simulators in our lab, but students are also learning about engineering, aerospace engineering, and we're trying to make all kinds of pathways available for them, trying to give them opportunities to see what.
Et vu que je peux pas prendre les images de TF1, alors on va se coltiner les images de la NASA.
We just finished doing a model rocket build where the students took CAD software, developed their own rockets, put them together.
Ouais, ou sinon j'avais ce petit micro là qui traînait aussi. Je l'ai pas rangé celui-là. Faudra que je le range ou que j'essaie de le brancher sur le PC. Là je suis avec le Logitech.
Space mechatronics with advanced manufacturing, preparing students to build and manufacture things to automate.
Moi, j'essaie de rentrer dans l'armée. J'attends mes dates pour aller pour faire mes tests physiques. Ça fait 2 semaines que j'attends. Mais on perd pas espoir. Et sinon, je fais aussi un peu de photos aussi. Je fais un peu de photos. Est-ce que j'ai réussi à adapter un objectif argentique sur un boîtier numérique? Ouais, totalement. Est-ce que ça marche? Carrément trop bien.
And you were actually telling me that I think, were telling me that you're interested in becoming a pilot. We talked a little bit about the pilot who is on board the rocket right now. How is this program preparing you for your future?
I mean, it's teaching me everything that I know.
Je fais pas beaucoup de lives, je fais que des lives sur les lancements de fusées, donc il y en a à peu près une fois par mois ou une fois tous les 2 mois quand ça me prend. Je fais pas trop de gaming parce que je saurais pas quoi trop jouer, parce que je reste aussi bon après les live gaming je peux en faire, c'est pas un souci, mais je me vois mal faire les quêtes de Star Rail alors que c'est pas par rapport au spoil mais par rapport au début de la quête, genre faudrait que je récrée un compte en fait. C'est ça le problème, faudrait que je recrée un compte de Star Rail si je veux faire du gaming.
When kids in high school have goals and they set their goals high and they want to go do something, you know, the kid who wanted to be an engineer, a pilot, like I love that, you know, find something that you're passionate about.
Et si tu veux voir ce que je fais en photo, je peux te donner mon Instagram si tu l'as pas. Techniquement, je le mets tout le temps, mais là j'ai oublié. Et je suis aussi bénévole en tant que photographe. Je suis photographe bénévole à l'Observatoire Antares, l'observatoire de ma ville.
Thanks so much, Megan. Yeah, we're honored to welcome Dr. Lori Glaze to the balcony now. Lori, this is our very first time having crew on an Artemis mission. How does that feel and how does that change our overall approach?
Et dire qu'il y a quelques années, c'était quelques années, ça remonte quand même. Hein. Sur le même panneau sur Artemis, c'était marqué Apollo dans les années 60, si je me souviens bien.
And so we've really put an enormous amount of rigor into assuring the safety of our crew.
J'aimerais bien lancer dans le photosport, mais impossible de se retrouver dans le match. Ouais, c'est chiant. Je veux bien te lancer ça. Attends. Alors mon Insta c'est ça. Astro News.fr 83. Voilà, tu as mon Insta. Je fais un peu d'astrophoto, moi, en général. J'ai fait une belle photo d'Orion, dont je suis très fier. Là, c'est une des dernières que tu verras sur mon Insta. Et aussi, j'ai fait une très belle photo de Jupiter avec ses... avec 3 lunes visibles. Bon. Et j'en suis trop fier aussi parce que c'est une de mes plus belles. Et celle de Jupiter, je l'ai faite au téléphone. Bon, j'étais branché sur un télescope, mais téléphone quand même. En gros, j'ai collé mon téléphone sur l'oculaire. Enfin, j'ai greffé mon téléphone sur l'oculaire du télescope. Et vu que je suis dans un club d'astronomie, bah, j'utilise le matériel astro de mon club. On a un Big Célestron C11. Un machin qui est un télescope de 2000 de focale, c'est 2000 je crois sur 500 je crois. 2000 mm sur 500. En gros, le 2000 c'est à longueur. Mettons ça c'est ton télescope là, quand je dis 2000 c'est à longueur focale. Et le 500, c'est ton diamètre en fait. Le diamètre de ton miroir. Et à la maison, j'ai un petit Dobson pour initier les gens. Enfin, initier les gens, oui, à l'astronomie facilement. Un petit télescope de voyage. Ah bah oui. J'ai un t-shirt alpine, hein. Faut pas me prendre, hein. Petit t-shirt alpine. Et petite photo retour. Ah toi, tu souffres pendant les week-ends, hein. Et moi, je quitte pas mon terroir. L'avantage chez Alpine, tu regardes les autres, tu fais parce qu'on est toujours en def, on est en mode. Et là, c'est pas si mal ce qu'ils font au final. C'est l'avantage d'être chez Alpine, t'es jamais déçu. Parce que tu connais déjà à l'avance le résultat. T'es en mode. Oh well. Ah putain. Je l'avais acheté ce t-shirt parce qu'on avait une vraie équipe de France de... Oui, c'est sûr. Mais je suis dégoûté que Ocon soit parti parce qu'on avait une vraie équipe française. Et ça, c'était classe. J'étais en mode, ouais, l'équipe de France, on est là. L'équipe. Putain, il a vraiment une tête de psychopathe. Je parle du mec qui parlait. Bah oui, et pourquoi j'ai de la photo automobile? C'est parce que j'ai le circuit Paul Ricard à côté de chez moi. J'habite littéralement à 40 minutes. Voire même moins. 40 minutes quand il y a des bouchons, 30 minutes, 35 minutes pour monter.
That serve as a checklist to verify the capabilities needed to land humans on the moon. For the Artemis II mission, there are 5 overarching priorities that cover the mission and flight test objectives. First is, of course, the crew. As the first crewed mission inside the Orion spacecraft,
je me suis toujours demandé c'était quoi ce gros truc là, ce gros truc de fumée là. Ici là. À mon avis, c'est pas une fuite, tu vois, mais à mon avis, c'est l'espèce d'excédent qui balance, tu vois. Parce que je sais qu'ils le font aussi sur les Ariane, c'est pour ça en fait. Ça le fait aussi sur les Ariane. À mon avis, c'est le système de refroidissement, une connerie comme ça, qui gère un peu d'excédent. Ou juste de la condensation, parce que là, tu colles ta langue, tu la retires plus.
The crew and flight control team will be testing emergency systems such as
Et c'est très compliqué de garder un lanceur en température, sa température optimale.
To ensure that in the event of a real emergency, the planned procedures and operations are sound. And finally, there's subsystem
validation. Quel pas de tir magnifique et légendaire. C'est incroyable.
Across life support, propulsion, avionics, and navigation systems aboard the Orion spacecraft. Human spaceflight is a complicated endeavor that requires precision and competence across all disciplines. You may hear the phrase, human spaceflight is the greatest team sport a few times in today's coverage, and it's absolutely true. Not only does it need mastery of specific components, but the integration extends across thousands.
Par contre, j'ai vraiment l'impression qu'ils ont pris un des propulseurs, putain, c'est comment ça s'appelle déjà, un des boosters de des navettes spatiales. Ils l'ont greffé, ils l'ont modifié, ils ont greffé un truc de fusée dessus. C'est vraiment l'impression que ça me donne. Mais en plus haut, c'est l'impression. Beaucoup plus haut que Gas Space Shuttle. Je sais pas combien elle fait, mais elle doit être pas loin, elle doit talonner en taille la Saturn V. J'ai regardé son poids et sa taille, ça m'intéresse.
All right, thank you, Megan, and we are live in Firing Room 1 here at the Launch Control Complex. Yes, we are currently not working with constraints with regards to the rocket or the ground systems. But the launch team has been aware of an issue
Artemis
that the range is working.
Enfin, Artemis, pareil.
Currently they're monitoring that work that is going on over at the range.
Elle fait 56 mètres de hauteur. Moi j'aurais cru plus, tu vois. Et la Saturn V, elle faisait combien?
The flight termination system, just to give you a quick explainer, every rocket has a flight termination system. It's the system that the Eastern Range here uses in order to send a destruct signal to a rocket.
La Saturn V, elle faisait 110 mètres de diamètre. Elle faisait de hauteur, je veux dire. 110 mètres de hauteur, la Saturn V. Contre 56 mètres pour la fusée qu'on regarde là.
Some assistance from the launch team
Putain,
to help
140
verify some of the work that they're doing on their FTS system. And this is where
oui, mais attends, mais j'ai pas sa puissance 2000.
A pretty unique situation.
2000.
The assistance they've asked for is to verify what's going on with the system. They want to check it to see that the work they're doing is okay. And in order to do that, the FTS console inside the firing room has been asked to help them verify it, and the way that they're going to do that, and the solution that he proposed to check and verify the system with the launch director, she gave the approval, is to they'll get a piece of
non, la Saturn V qui était vachement au-dessus en termes de taille, de puissance, de...
And this equipment is able to receive commands by the range through the flight termination system. And so with this piece of equipment,
en fait, j'ai l'impression qu'elle a tout. En fait, le SLS, la SLS là, elle a tout divisé par deux. Le poids, la taille, la puissance.
During the space shuttle era. And so that is in work right now. The bottom line of all this is, at this moment, the range is no go. But that is not
chapeau bas l'artiste. Je te tire mon chapeau. Je pas ma casquette. Non, mes casquettes sont accrochées là-bas. Très bien.
The closeout crew will continue to do their work, and the launch team will continue to do their work as well. But we'll keep you updated on what happens in regards to, as far as my understanding goes,
j'ai eu un message WhatsApp
here with trying to bring resolution. And kind of help out the situation that we're seeing.
Voilà. Là, on va être bien. Là, on va être équipé.
We'll send it back to Megan and Nicole out.
Je savais pas où était passée cette veste.
Thank you, Daryl. Yes, very unique, but I think it speaks to the ingenuity of this team, right? To say,
petite veste
hey,
NASA,
we have
et on est
this
parti.
equipment
Oui, voilà, on est
at the
bien.
VAB. Why don't we leverage it
Mais
to
chapeau
try
pas
to
l'artiste,
solve
putain.
this
Bien.
issue and work it?
Yeah, what a great example of human creativity, right? We know this thing
Ok,
exists.
je vois,
Let's
j'ai
go
compris.
solve
D'accord,
this
c'est
problem.
ma pote sur
We have
le...
time, you know, like Daryl said, we're going to continue to march down the countdown. So we'll continue to
Non,
get the
c'est
rocket
les
and the
annonces,
crew
ok.
ready, but we still have that
Et qu'est-ce qu'ils
2-hour
disent,
window.
là,
So in the
Taras,
meantime,
là?
let's
Ok,
try to
d'accord.
figure out what's happening with the range.
And speaking of the range, what is the range for people who might not watch
Bien joué.
rocket launches with us?
Sure, yeah, so
Moi,
anytime that you
généralement,
launch a rocket,
je
you
pilote
have to
pas, mais
clear
je suis
the
photographe du coup.
airspace, right, in the
Moi,
launch
généralement,
corridor
je
of
vais
where the rocket's flight path is going to go.
au Grand Prix
You have to make
historique
sure that,
de
that
Formule
whole
1. Bon,
airspace
pas cette
is
année parce que
cleared.
j'ai pas les thunes,
And
mais ça fait.
so we
Mais
actually
depuis l'année dernière, ça
assets, you know,
fait.
the Space Force helps us out with this
Attends.
one, but you know, we
Ouais,
wanna
je l'ai
make
fait
sure
3
that
ans d'affilée.
there aren't airplanes in the way, and there aren't other, you know, maritime assets in the way or things like that. So there's a whole group of people. We talked about, actually, Gary said it great, right? It's a huge team sport, and so there's a whole
La
group
dernière fois,
here on the
c'était
ground
l'année
that is
dernière, il
monitoring
flottait.
that
Du coup, en fait, j'ai
launch
pu avoir
corridor to make sure
des
it's
images
cleared and ready
incroyables
to go.
avec
And
les
so if
voitures,
they're
avec
having
les
issues, then we
jets d'eau
definitely can't launch this rocket. We don't want to launch blind
qui se
into a
propulsent en
corridor
l'air
that we can't see.
Yeah, because as
des
Daryl said,
Formule 1,
I
c'est
mean,
incroyable.
it is very important.
Et du coup,
flight
j'ai aussi vu
terminations
la
and needing to activate
la
it
casse
in
moteur
case
de
of an emergency.
de
So
la
yes, something that, we will
de la
also keep
R20, de la Renault
monitoring,
R25 V10 de Fernando Alonso. C'était
hopefully
putain
that
le
won't be
mec.
an issue, that they can fix this
Sérieusement.
issue by going to the heritage hardware that's in the
Et
vehicle.
du coup, j'ai vu prendre feu.
Right, what a great idea.
Okay, so again, under 2 hours from the opening of our 2-hour launch.
Mais
service,
j'aimerais que ça fasse pas la même avec ce machin là, parce que ça, si ça pète, tu vas pas sortir les mecs. Hein. Bon, théoriquement, ça devrait bien se passer. Et même si ça pète, ils ont la tour de sauvetage qui est ici là.
The moon to me, it's the thing that connects me together with all the other humans in my life. I remember being a little kid lying in bed at night and just looking out at the moon in whatever phase it was in, and I was thinking, man, my friends that live like 20 miles away, they can probably look out and see that same exact moon. And then when I was in the Navy and I would look out at the moon and I'd be halfway around the planet, and I would think, man, my brother can see that moon where he is, and he's halfway around the planet from where I am. To me, it's a connection of life on Earth. We can all look up and see that moon, and it's always changing. The moon is never the same 2 days in a row. I love that. My name is Reed Wiseman. I'm the commander of NASA's Artemis II mission around the moon. I grew up in a little town just north of Baltimore, Maryland, about 20 miles north of the city. There was a National Guard base nearby my house, and there were A-10 aircraft that would fly over every now and then. I just would look up at them and be like, man, I want to be up there. I want to go do that. And then my brother went to the Naval Academy, and I would go every year and watch the Blue Angels fly during commencement. And that just started to grow and grow and grow. For a while, I wanted to join the Air Force, and then I realized Navy flies as well, and they fly from ships in the middle of the ocean. And that was it, like, done deal for me. That is exactly what I wanted to do for my career.
Pas forcément parce que... Oh putain, je voulais pas parler parce que c'est intéressant, mais... Oh putain, oh il a volé sur F14 et F18. C'est soit F18 soit F16. Oh le F14 tome 4. Incroyable. F18. Et du coup, là en fait... Et pas forcément. Et pas forcément. Et non, je joue pas à LoL parce que je suis pas un puant. J'en profite de tacler les joueurs de LoL, hein, vu qu'elle peut pas entendre. Et pas forcément 5 ans parce que, comment te dire que les mecs, genre, je sais plus c'était dans quel programme. Genre la fusée elle a pété et genre 2 jours après ils étaient c'était les Russes, ouais c'était les Russes. Ils ont tout niqué. Genre 2 jours plus tard ils ont fait bah du coup vu que la fusée a explosé on repart quand. Et je suis en mode
There have been challenges all throughout my life. By far, the biggest challenge was losing my wife in 2020 to cancer, and now raising 2 daughters who are
Sympa, ne joue pas à ce jeu.
The biggest challenge by far I've ever had to face. It is not easy being an only parent, trying to work a full-time job, and raising 2 kids is something that I think about every single day.
J'adore la musique utilisée par contre.
I haven't always done it well, but I've always shown up and tried as hard.
Et fun fact, quand ils ont fait une réunion dans l'espace, les soviétiques et les américains, ni l'un ni l'autre voulaient faire la prise femelle. Ah ouais, le concours d'ego, on est là entre les deux blocs, à ce niveau-là. Tout le monde voulait faire le garce, la prise mâle, et ça me fout droit de rire de me dire putain, le concours de bites. Le concours de bites. Parce qu'ils pensaient en fait qu'en faisant ça, en fait, mais j'ai pas de thunes, frère. Tu me dis des trucs, j'ai pas de thunes. Sans
going to college when no one in my family had gone to college was a huge risk.
Je sais maîtriser Photoshop quand même.
Sympa. I could play football with those college students that I saw on TV, but my classmates that I saw in the lab and around the University Union, I didn't know if I had what they had. I think addressing that self-doubt was a part of swinging for the fence and trying to go get an engineering degree, not just go to college, but get an engineering degree and then go do something challenging and technical like flying.
Je pense que ça pose quand même un problème de recrutement et d'études. Oh oui, totalement, mais tu as raison, mon cher Elix. Surtout que, genre, un graphiste, genre, j'en ai un dans l'équipe de l'observatoire.
When you look at our spaceship, you can see parts that were designed, built, and integrated in another country. When you look at our crew, you see that our crew is international. There are also men and women. And I just think that comparing and contrasting makes the story even richer. The piloting role specifically, I will have an hour and a half or so where I get to fly the spacecraft by hand. We haven't flown that many spaceships. And so the ability to fly one actually in space on a test mission is just a really unique opportunity. I can't tell you how I'm going to feel when we fly by the moon and see the moon up close and the Earth from a... but I use the word excited.
Putain, je me foudroie, X.
You know, what we do, this is very serious and it's very risky. And we are all intimately familiar with that risk. And so, if we go out there and we're successful and we can pass that baton on to Artemis III, that's something to really be excited about.
Ouais.
I tell a story.
D'ailleurs, j'ai filé du bout à mon pote Alex. Je vais lui faire, tiens, montre-moi ce live de 3 heures, s'il te plaît. Et il peut bien me faire, je vais bosser avec lui pour... je vais bosser avec lui sur ses vidéos YouTube. Ça va être des mini courts-métrages à la JDG, ça va être très drôle. Alors, on a une vidéo de prévue sur Smash Bros, une sur les mecs qui conduisent dans le sud de la France, une sur l'astronomie, et la dernière c'était quoi? Bon, c'est que des grosses vidéos, genre qui demandent des journées de tournage, mais... Bah en fait avec plus storytelling en fait du style, genre on aura vraiment une ligne directrice, genre on va fusionner un peu de noob, tu vois, genre pour le gag on va pour les trucs en fait on va un peu s'inspirer évidemment de JDG, genre vraiment. Et parce qu'on va aussi tourner en extérieur, on va faire un peu un truc à la noob un peu. Enfin, il y aura un petit truc comme ça, tu vois. Faut pas voir ça comme du plagiat, nous, un hommage à ces personnalités, parce qu'en fait, c'est des personnalités qu'on adore et qui nous inspirent, en fait. Comme dit un bon photographe, je vais reprendre ses mots. Commencer, c'est s'inspirer, et c'est très salutaire pour ton côté artistique de toi-même en fait. Je m'inspire de beaucoup, évidemment, moi aussi je m'inspire de beaucoup de photographes quand je filme mes photos. Parce que j'aime ce qu'ils font et j'essaye de décliner ça sur le long terme. Oh, c'est good. Bah déjà, attends qu'on tourne déjà. Il est en train d'écrire les scripts. On a déjà les acteurs, évidemment, c'est des potes à nous. Mais on a déjà les scripts des vidéos. Ça, c'est déjà fait. Il est en train de les peaufiner. Allez, je vais être gentil dans... Allez, je vais pas m'avancer dans 1 mois et demi, 2 mois max, on aura commencé à tourner la première vidéo sur Smash Bros. Après, ouais, bah tiens, il m'a envoyé en mode hey, tu me raconteras Artemis, c'est mon pote d'ailleurs. Parce qu'il bosse dans la cyber et le mec se lève tôt.
I'm an astronaut with the Canadian Space Agency, and I'm a mission specialist on NASA's Artemis II mission around the moon.
Et moi, demain, je m'occupe des stagiaires. À l'observatoire. Super.
I spent as much time as I could with my dad
Puis
on
avec
the
des
farm.
carottes.
I learned the value of hard work, for example. If I wanted to go to work with Dad, it was going to be a long day, and I was going to have to not complain, or I wasn't going to get to go the next day.
Ouais, mais c'est ça. Bah en fait, nous, bah d'abord tu fais pour les zones extérieures et tout, tu fais des demandes à la mairie et tout pour pouvoir tourner dans les lieux publics entre guillemets. Ensuite, tu fais ton repérage pour avoir le meilleur angle, le chemin que tu veux et tout, pour avoir un bon fond, les angles et tout. T'arranges quand c'est des plans fixes un peu comme là, tu vois, t'arranges un peu ton décor. Bon là j'ai pas fait mon lit mais c'est pas grave, tu vois. Genre t'arranges ton décor, tu fais vraiment ce que tu veux montrer dans ta pièce. Mais tu n'hésites pas à faire de la contre, de la plongée ou de la contre-plongée. Genre la contre-plongée ça va agrandir ton personnage, tu vois. Alors que la plongée en fait c'est pour vraiment rapetisser le personnage principal par exemple. Genre tu veux imiter, tu veux avoir la vue d'un monstre d'à peu près 6 mètres, tu vois, tu te fous à 6 mètres de haut et tu filmes ton perso principal comme ça. Ou à peu près comme ça, tu vois. Là t'as ta caméra, tu vois, tu filmes comme ça, en plongée. Là, alors je vais t'expliquer un petit truc, ça c'est un peu mes douilles à moi. Quand tu veux faire éclairer une scène et donner du contraste, tu mets jamais ton panneau LED genre devant toi, parce que de 1 ça va te niquer les yeux et de 2 ça va niquer ton contraste. C'est pour ça en fait que moi j'en ai un là, un là-bas, à 45 degrés sur moi, et il est même pas à pleine puissance, et un qui réfléchit sur mon mur blanc, qui est derrière, qui est littéralement derrière. Hein. Je peux pas te le montrer parce que sinon je bouge la caméra et tout, ça va être chiant. Et du coup en fait la lumière blanche me revient sur la gueule. Et du coup en fait tu verras que c'est mieux éclairé ici que là, parce que là j'ai ma lumière principale qu'on appelle une key light. Et là t'as ton support, ton lumière support pour justement adoucir les contrastes. Parce que si je fais ça, regarde. Hop, tu vois.
1 hour, 38 minutes and counting until the opening of the Artemis II launch window today, 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time.
Aussi les codes
and we are looking at the rocket and Orion out on the pad, historic launch pad 39B here at Kennedy Space Center. What a great view.
Yes, it is. You know, we can see the clouds out in front of us, but they're to the west. And you can see that there's some blue sky peeking through behind that rocket, which is good news.
Ah là c'était les petits tutos effets de lumière d'Astro 12. Bon d'habitude j'ai un panneau LED qui éclaire en bleu derrière, mais là j'ai pas mis. Lumière blanche, celui-là est en lumière blanc et celui-là, attends, je vais te montrer, genre parce qu'en fait c'est des LED blanches évidemment, mais j'ai plusieurs petites teintes en fait, assez sympatoches. Genre par exemple là je l'ai mis en lumière chaude, genre en gros j'ai juste mis un truc comme ça en fait, pour ajouter de la chaleur en fait à l'image. Et ça généralement c'est le truc d'origine, le truc blanc en fait, le diffuseur blanc comme ça. Après je peux faire plusieurs ambiances parce que j'ai des ce qu'on appelle des merde, comment ça s'appelle, pas des gelées, merde, mais des trucs comme des trucs à la couleur. Des feuilles de plastique un peu colorées comme ça, tu vois. J'ai fait une gamme, genre je peux adoucir la lumière avec celui-là, avec un peu noir. Bon, je vois qu'il a pris tarot parce qu'il a chauffé dans le panelette, tu vois. Il a pris vraiment tarot. Généralement je trouve.
Just kidding. Museum of Flight, Seattle, Washington. So sorry. Hello to you over there. Sorry, I thought that you were.
Du coup, je peux rajouter aussi des filtres bleus. Je peux mettre pas toutes les couleurs que je veux. Et qui va devenir donner des ambiances différentes à ma lumière.
As well as a special event here now, correctly, the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, Huntsville, Alabama. Of course, they would have a lot of people here, and I'm sure this crowd will grow when we get closer to launch.
Et sinon, en termes de webcam, je suis avec une HubSpot
this is a great chat. You can see all the people there, and obviously you've got quite a few artifacts in there as well. Oh,
now they know, yeah, now they know they're on the broadcast. That's too funny.
Putain, ils ont acheté,
hey, listen,
ils ont un
right.
petit truc, petite fusée gonflable, c'est sympa.
Until we wait for the opening of the window. No, there they are.
Everybody's excited.
Thank you guys for showing us your excitement.
Ah, voilà,
I know
voilà.
deep down it was in there. It's just that you felt like sitting at the moment, so that's all right.
Moi, mon matériel de lumière, c'est surtout du Neuer. C'est très sympa. C'est pas trop cher, mais c'est très quali. C'est du bon matériel pour commencer.
And so why are we going to the moon? Why does NASA want to build a moon base there? Here's Megan Carter again with our moon board.
All right, thank you, Megan. Yeah, so we are right around that hour-and-a-half mark, hopefully for that launch. It's going to be very exciting. So they are going to have a few days to be around the low Earth orbit, and then they'll be heading on to the moon. So yes, let's talk what will be happening. Why are we going to the moon?
Oh, attends, là, je vais faire pause parce que... Merde. Ah, je voulais faire pause parce qu'en fait on avait tous les transferts de Oman et tout, mais avec tous les points d'accélération, de décélération.
Those Apollo missions did have 6 lunar landings,
ouais, bah, du coup,
and the Artemis campaign is looking to build on that past by
et là, il faut savoir qu'ils reçoivent, à partir quand ils sont derrière de la Lune, en fait, ils reçoivent aucun signal, genre aucun signal qui passe en termes de communication. Et je me demande quel site alunissage ils vont prendre là, pour le coup.
That is going to be giving us some really critical
2H2 est égal 2H2.
And as you can see here, we have identified 9 potential landing zones. So this is going to be a critical objective for our crew. We, depending on when they launch, it will determine what is going to be visible.
Oh, on a cette photo à l'observatoire.
9 landing zones right here around the Shackleton crater. And as you can see here, a lot of that area is deep and dark, and that is where we are going to be looking for that water ice, because that is obviously going to give us not just water to drink, but as we know, that can actually be converted into our propellant potentially, that hydrogen and oxygen.
Il y a plein de cratères vachement récents. Lui, il est beau, mais il est un peu plus ancien que par exemple celui-là.
If you have your tent and your hiking boots and your camping stove and all your gear, you don't want to take that out and be on the trail for the first day and then try everything out. You're going to test things out a little bit closer to home before you go out.
Après, la Lune, c'est manger tellement de trucs que si un astéroïde tombe sur la Lune, c'est forcément par-dessus un autre cratère. On est à ce point-là. La Terre a eu un peu plus de chance grâce à Jupiter. Ah, parce que Jupiter a une grosse attraction gravitationnelle.
Exciting stuff. Again, the idea of accomplishing a moon base,
moi, je
like, as we've been saying, sometimes things just seem like science fiction, and it's amazing that we're making it science fact.
Yes, yeah, we're going back. We're going to scout it out, and then on the future Artemis missions, we're going to put boots back on the moon for the first time in over half a century. But we're going to stay, and we're going to learn from the moon, and we're going to, as Megan talked about, the water ice, and harness that resource, and not only learn from the moon about Earth and about the solar system, but also figure out how we get to Mars from the moon.
And so what we're seeing now back inside the White Room with the closeout team, they are removing basically fixtures that protected the crew module hatch while they did work around it, right, Nicole?
Yep. Yeah, so anytime that you're moving around and working, there are some sensitive sensors and parts of the crew module that we don't want to kick or bump into, and so it's easier to just put a guard up while you're working in there and then take it down later.
And so this is a visual cue for us that the team is getting ready to close the last hatch, again, the launch abort system hatch. Can you tell us about what the LAS is?
Yeah, so launch abort system, this is, we have the crew module, and then what sits basically on top of the crew module is the launch abort system, and it has its own motors, so that we'll arm it about 5 minutes prior to launch, and then it stays with the crew module until about the Kármán line, so that 100-kilometer point in space. Once the crew could safely get to orbit, it will actually be jettisoned, and the crew module will then be exposed. So this is just a safety mechanism that stays on the outside of the crew module, and then as they monitor the attitude and the thrust and all sorts of the roll, all sorts of different data points to make sure the crew is safely getting to orbit. And once they are safely to orbit, then we will get rid of that launch abort system.
And it looks like they're putting all these parts that they're removing from around the crew module hatch into a bag because they have to take this out with them once they leave the pad, right?
Yes, yeah, we don't want anything left up there in the White Room, and especially because that crew access arm will move away from the capsule and the rocket, and so we want an empty White Room, no FOD like we talked about, so that we can have a safe launch.
And this orange tube that you see on the right side of your screen, that had been inside the crew module, providing breathable air to the crew. And now again, with the crew module closed, and them getting ready to close the second hatch that has been removed and is out of the way, so again, the closeout crew can continue to do their work.
Yeah, that's just a duct to provide some cooling air and some breathing air to the crew and the closeout crew while they're in there.
That's actually a good point, yeah. And so as we continue to watch the crew prepare to close the launch abort system hatch, why don't we take a look at the crew's mission patch? Now, crews have designed their official mission patches since the Gemini 5 launch in 1965. Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, they really wanted to play on the abbreviation of Artemis II to all, signifying not only the second major flight of the Artemis program, but also a mission to explore for all, by all. The crew chose the iconic Earthrise photo for a reason. It was taken by the Apollo 8 crew in 1968, the first crew to ever fly around the moon. The mission was to prove teams then were ready to land on the moon the same way Artemis II hopes to fly around the moon ahead of a lunar landing with Artemis 4. This time, as we've been saying throughout the broadcast, to stay on the moon and pave the way to Mars.
Yeah, we talk about incremental steps, right? And so Artemis 2 is very similar to Apollo 8 in terms of that increment. They're going to fly around the moon and set up the rest of the Artemis program for landing on the moon, but also with a nod towards the fact that we do this for all humanity. And I love the thoughtfulness and how much they, how much importance they put on their patch design.
Another camera angle of inside the Orion spacecraft.
I was going to say, we might be able to see Rise, but I think it's right behind Reed's foot there.
And so to orient people again, so basically we have Christina in your upper right hand, Christina in your upper left hand corner. Then you have Jeremy below her. And then the feet you're seeing, those are Reed's feet. And then next to him, the upper right hand corner, that is Victor, who's unfortunately hidden by Reed's feet, but Again, that is the orientation of the crew inside Orion right now. Now, earlier this week, the crew got to stick their patch on a wall just outside the suit-up room. You can play that video there now. You can see that crews have been doing this as part of a pre-flight tradition again. Wow, Reed just making sure that thing won't come off. And so now Victor is signing there. Followed by Christina. And then Jeremy. That's a fun tradition, and your patch is up there too.
It is, yeah, ours is on the left-hand side there. Yeah, it's a fun tradition. This is a really fun day too. You know, they did this a couple days ago, but it's just another step that makes it a little bit more real that you're going to be launching soon.
Oh putain, j'avais le skin Asuka, j'ai oublié ça, putain.
Again, we talked a little bit about this before. The basically like a computer there on Jeremy's leg, a way for him to just check out the data, see some of the data that also Reed and Victor are getting to see, but in those much bigger displays for Orion.
Right, yeah, it's basically a tablet on his leg, and it's actually plugged into a cord nearby that allows him to have a screen repeater so he can see what they're looking at.
And it looks like he's taking notes. Can you talk a little bit about what that is? It's part of, all of them have like a little procedural book, right?
Right, yeah, so they have what we call a knee board, and they'll have blank pages to take notes on. They might have a cue card or procedures, or they can be kind of custom built to what each crew member wants for their knee board.
This mission, of course, built by people and companies in all 50 states, as we've been saying throughout the broadcast, and with our international partners as well. Let's take a look at some of the people playing such a big role in today's test flight.
What we're doing here is a collaborative effort of hundreds of thousands of people.
This is about the parts, the hardware, the software, the services, all coming together to make that mission possible.
My dream for this space program is that we would not just push the boundaries, but that we push them together.
And liftoff of Artemis I. We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
It takes a team to do great things. And Artemis has an incredible team.
We have international partners. We have commercial partners and industry partners. It takes unity to accomplish great things, and that's what this mission's all about.
We're not sending our money to the moon and lighting it on fire. We're putting that money right back into the economy in ways that benefit everybody. So every dollar that comes out of the Treasury that goes to support this mission goes back into the Treasury 3 times. What is very important to me is that we do it the right way, and that we do it with our values, that our industries grow, that our communities grow, that our families are healthy and safe and have amazing things to work on. Then we're going to build machines to go even further onto Mars.
That is our generation, the Artemis generation, that defines the starting point of our exploration future.
I just want to say thank you to all of the hands that have touched a part of this program and the hearts that have moved everyone to this goal, because we're going to the moon and we're going beyond.
One team.
One team.
One team.
One dream.
What I really like about that package is, again, just reminding people that this is spurring so many jobs across the country.
Yeah, across the country and across the world, right? The whole world has a part of this. The Artemis Accords are signed by over 40, 50 different countries. And so, yeah, we're taking all of the taxpayers' money and we're putting it right back into the jobs here in the U.S.
And the money, too. You know, when we have more disposable income because we have good paying jobs, that's money that goes back into our economy as disposable income. So really, it is just an ecosystem that NASA is proud to be a part of.
Right. not only is it about the money and the economy, right, but it's also about the science and what we're going to learn and exploration. You know, we, on top of all of those things, we benefit the economy as well.
Obviously, Nicole is a wealth of knowledge. We're very lucky to have her. We're going to be tapping into that knowledge throughout the broadcast, and we have been for now close to 4 hours. So thank you, Nicole. I hope you're holding up okay.
Yeah, I'm loving it out here. It's been great.
Let's learn a little bit more about Nicole. Her first mission to space was actually last March. She launched from here at Kennedy Space Center as pilot of NASA's SpaceX Crew 10 mission to the International Space Station. And what a beautiful launch that was. She spent 148 days in space conducting science experiments that could benefit us on Earth. For example, one studied the physics of liquids, which could help researchers deliver medicines more effectively. She also conducted an almost 6-hour spacewalk to help upgrade the orbiting lab's power system. Nicole is a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Air Force and flew one of its most advanced aircraft. She was born in San Diego, California, and is a twin. That's a cute photo of the two of you. Oh, that one too.
Young explorers, yeah.
Yes, yes. That's so great to just see how far you've come. Again, I think that speaks to what we've been saying. Like, you know, just if you're passionate about something, go for it and see where that takes you.
Yeah, I think that's a great example. You know, I was a serious little kid with really high goals and, you know, just kept working hard and never got bumped off the path and ended up here. And, you know, I think it's a testament to the human, like we talked about, you know, if you're willing to work hard, be a good team player, you can really get anywhere you want in life. And that's what I love to talk about. Christina has mentioned similar things. And so it's been kind of a theme for the day.
Yeah, definitely a theme for the day, a theme for the team. The team has said the same, the crew has said the same sort of things. So absolutely, Nicole, thank you so much for being here. And hopefully only a little bit more until launch today.
Hopefully.
So today's Artemis II test flight will mark only the 7th time NASA astronauts will launch on a new NASA spacecraft designed for crew. And then controlling the flight will be Mission Control in Houston. Our Gary Jordan is inside with flight controllers. Hey, Gary.
Hey, Megan, you are right. This is a significant milestone, and we may be putting the names of a few more astronauts in the history books today. The Artemis II crew is set to launch today will join a select list of humans to fly in a spacecraft for the very first time. And Artemis II, like missions before it, is a test mission. During ascent, the crew and the teams here in the room are prepared for a variety of scenarios. Some of these will be called out directly by Capcom's Stan Love during ascent, and some are a little more subtle. These calls can be split into 2 categories: alternate main engine cutoff or MECO targets and aborts. First, there are 2 alternate MECO targets, or AMTs. These note milestones to give flight control teams and astronauts an idea of what would happen after that moment should the core stage lose one of the main engines. First is AMT low. You won't hear it called out by the crew or Capcom since this happens right at liftoff. If the core stage loses one engine at this moment, an abort once around option could be made at main engine cutoff, meaning the crew could target a splashdown in the Pacific. The second is AMT high, which would be called out by Capcom's Stan Love around 22 seconds. After this moment, if the core stage loses an engine, we can still pursue an alternate mission in low Earth orbit to accomplish some of the test objectives. And at about 5 minutes, 16 seconds into the flight, you'll hear the call 3-engine press. This is a good moment. After this point, if the core stage loses an engine, we can still make a nominal main engine cutoff and pursue a moon mission as expected. Again, these MECO targets give the flight control teams and crew an idea of what lies ahead should one main engine be lost, but assumes we are otherwise continuing to a main engine cutoff target. This differs from an abort, where the Orion capsule separates from the Space Launch System prior to the planned separation time. There are abort options at every moment that integrity is attached to the Space Launch System, from the pad to more than 3 hours into the mission. During the first 8 or so minutes of powered flight, there are 3 abort options. First is the use of the launch abort system, which you see at the very top of the rocket, and here in the White Room where the hatch is open and teams are working to close it. This particular abort capability can be used from here at the pad through roughly 3 minutes and 22 seconds into the flight. Next is an untargeted abort splashdown, or UAS. This uses Orion's service module engines to escape the SLS and becomes available immediately after the launch abort system jettisons. Third is an abort once around, or AOA. you'll hear a Capcom stand-love call AOA open around 7 minutes 30 seconds into the flight. This also uses the service module engines, but the burn profile is a bit different to aim for a splashdown in the Pacific after one trip around the Earth. NASA's expedited recovery teams are staged off the coast of San Diego to get to the crew and integrity quickly for this abort option. An AOA option continues to be available until solar arrays are deployed on the Orion service module a little more than 30 minutes into the mission. At this point, an abort to orbit or ATO option becomes available until separation from the upper stage around 3 hours and 23 minutes. Mission profiles can vary depending on when an ATO is executed in that window, but with power being drawn from solar arrays, it buys more time for astronauts and flight control teams to make decisions and stay in Earth orbit, return for a splashdown, or continue to the moon. The Artemis II crew and flight control teams are well trained on all of these scenarios, and the calls you hear to the crew on Orion to Earth may help them be in a ready state for whatever challenge may come their way. At this time, we're not tracking any significant issues here in mission control in Houston, Texas. That would be showstoppers for today's launch. We're continuing to, of course, monitor the countdown along the way and make sure all systems are go for when we reach T0. With that, I'll send it back to you, Megan, at the Kennedy Space Center.
All right, we are ready for another reading if you are ready over there.
Yes, sir. CBA is steady at 2,600 PSI.
All right, copy that. And you know, the more times we ask you to do that, the closer we get to launch, so that's a good thing.
Copy.
You heard it there from NASA Test Director Jeff Spaulding. The more that they keep on asking her how the pressure is holding in the counterbalance assembly mechanism is a good thing, because it means we are getting closer to launch. So that's amazing news over the loops that we just heard on Orion to Earth 1. Again, that communication channel with the crew. But now I want to get back over to Daryl with the launch team. He has an update now on the flight termination system that the team was tracking.
All right, thank you very much, Megan. We're getting an update now from the launch team as we speak.
Ah oui, en effet.
All right, stand by 1 second.
Pauvre Migumi.
Okay. Sorry about that. We're just getting an update, in fact, about what I was about to report out on the range. And the good news is the range is go. So we reported that they were working to verify their equipment regarding the FTS system. And they asked for a little of that verification work to be done by one of the FTS engineers here in the firing room. He went out to the VAB to get some legacy hardware to help out with it. But in the end, this is a fix that the range had come up with to get clearance, to clear the range rather, and to as well work the FTS system. And so now they are go. Again, the range is go. That is no longer a constraint. And so you combine that with the fact that the rocket and the ground systems here also working, no constraints, clear board here is great news. So again,
3/4 des Américains sont cons, les 1/4 restants c'est la NASA. Voici le message que je leur dis.
We got a weather update that came in to the launch director from Launch Weather Officer Mark Berger. He reported out that there's still a little bit of feisty weather activity that's happening up in the Titusville area. That's the city neighboring the Kennedy Space Center. Those showers had passed over Kennedy, and then now they're currently over in Titusville, currently still within that mile kind of constraint of flight through precipitation rule. But we're still far enough from the window that it looks like it won't be an issue. And in fact, we're seeing some good sunlight now breaking through onto the launch pad. As you can see, it's actually shining on the other side of the rocket here. But to the west, we're starting to see some of that clearing that was forecast. And so the launch weather officer held his forecast for 80% go for flight during our launch window tonight, which, as a reminder, is 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time until 8:24 p.m. Eastern Time. And we're also hearing that the last hatch closure, as you can see in the bottom corner of your screen, they're starting to work on that. That's the launch abort system hatch. There are two hatches, the crew hatch and the launch abort system hatch.
Oh, je suis en train de remater mes anciennes vidéos en attendant. Allez, je suis désolé.
Right on time with their work.
Ah putain, c'est vrai qu'on voyait Moustache seul.
And you can see it in motion right now. That launch abort system hatch. That's the latest from the firing room. We'll send it back to the host desk.
Thank you so much, Daryl. Great news all around. And yes, we did just see them close the last hatch. And now we are looking at a live view of Banana Creek. Lots of people there, I'm sure, relieved to hear that that issue with the flight termination system has been resolved. And we are go for launch. Go for launch from the range. Go for weather.
Oh putain, c'est vrai que j'étais en train d'écouter le
go from all of them, I would imagine.
Yes, it's got to be exciting. The crowd is building, and as Daryl said, you can start to see the sun poking out here, and we can see all the clouds are moving north and moving away from us. So it's all good news.
And so as we know, we have our Leah Martin down there at the Banana Creek viewing location, and she's standing by with some other guests.
Hey, Megan, I don't know if you heard that huge cheer just now. If you heard a big rumble, as soon as Daryl said that the range was clear for launch, everybody clapped. It was super excited as we get to these final countdowns. Standing next to me, I have Hudson and Maddox, the son of brothers here. And I asked you a little bit earlier, how excited are you to be here for launch? What did you say?
I'm very excited. It's our mom's birthday, and you know.
Qui est là?
Not a better way to celebrate right now. I asked you on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you? Would you say?
11. Yeah, 11. I'm very excited. Super excited. Yeah.
So, Megan, we've been watching the launch broadcast here and hearing some of the questions that you and Nicole have been asking and answering. And I actually wanted to ask these two kids, if you could take a 10-day trip around the moon and take 3 people with you, who would you take with you?
Well, I'd take my dad and my mom. And I mean, I don't know. Probably my best friend. I'd just say one of my friends, you know.
Oh, one of your friends. So brother got left out. Who would you take?
That was just what I was thinking. My dad and my mom and my best friend.
That's a pretty good answer. Your brother can get his own trip to space, right? Yeah. So I'm actually joined here also by Dad. Now, you were sharing with me that a lot of the work that you've been doing over the last several months has been prepping the launch teams, our engineering teams, our ground systems teams, to get ready for launch, to be mindful and to be in this moment. How does it feel to be standing here knowing that the people you've worked so closely with are doing what they're passionate about, or doing what they were born to do, moments away from launching this rocket?
I mean, this is an exceptionally happy moment for us and all of us and the people that are about to take off on this historic trip here. And I'm grateful to know that we've helped in some way, shape, or form to help them stay steady and calm, in such an exciting time within the agency. And so to just be here and witness it and know that, they've got some tools to help them stay calm and steady is everything to us. So.
Fantastic. Well, Megan, we are standing by ready to go, and we're ready to cheer this team on.
Thanks so much, guys. And yes, Leo, we did hear that cheer. That was very exciting. I think the vibe over there is they're celebrating, they're having fun. And here, once they heard that we're go for launch, everybody had to run back to the camera and work. It's a little bit of a different vibe, but I definitely think that people are excited, especially as we see now live inside of the White Room at the launch pad. The closeout crew has closed the launch abort system hatch. You saw there, we took it live. Took a lot of them, I think all of them, except for one. I think it took 3 or 4 of them to push that hatch door close, and then they felt around the perimeter of the door to make sure that everything was sitting just right.
Right, yeah, we talked about how heavy the crew module hatch is. This hatch is just as heavy probably, and so, they're working the closure here and working those connections, and you can see, there's still 3, 4, 5 people that we can see in the White Room. It takes a lot of people to get these hatches closed and this rocket ready to launch.
And so the next step in the countdown is that this team will start closing out the white room. So basically disconnecting things, stowing things, making sure that when they leave, there is nothing that isn't supposed to be there. And really, then at that point, it's just all four of the crew members, Victor, Reed, Christina, and Jeremy by themselves at the top of the launch pad.
Yeah, and then eventually that crew access arm will move away, and then it'll really just be them up on top of that rocket.
Yeah, your eyes lit up when I said that. That's exciting. It is. It is.
Yeah, we had a moment, we talked a little bit about my fear of heights, but most of our crew is afraid of heights. And so there was a moment where I realized that it was just us, 100 and some odd feet up and
no
crew access arm, and may or may not have said something that made everybody go, huh.
Were you wondering to yourself, how did I get here?
We're pretty far up.
That crew again bringing that drag-on camera. That camera is a handheld camera that is a live look for teams who are remotely watching these operations closely. Again, verifying that things are as they should be before the crew starts, the closeout crew starts leaving the white room. You see them checking their procedures.
You can see they're covering the ends of those hoses. That's to protect those hoses from FOD, so we don't want any dirt or anything to get into those while we transport them and stow them. So you can see Andre there working to close out the hoses as well while they're cleaning up the white room.
And so they'll tape that close. You just saw number 5. Number 5 holding some tools. Again, we'll stow those away. You have to account for everything. Obviously, they did have tools out. They did have procedures, paper, notes out. Like all of that has to go.
Yes, and you can even see on number 3's hat, he's got a string that's connected to his suit there. That's, again, just to make sure that we don't lose anything. If, a gust of wind or you get knocked or something, you don't want to lose a single thing in the white room. So everything is tethered, everything is accounted for, and everything is protected.
The crew now, another live view of them inside Orion. Jeremy, Christina, and Reed and Victor on the left, the right side.
Et voilà.
Choose from, so that's really cool.
J'ai oublié de
We're actually going to
réactiver ça.
pull up a graphic now that kind of shows you some of the food that they're going to have with them on their 10-day journey around the moon. We know of more than 10 types of beverages. There's coffee, a mango peach smoothie, apple cider, lemonade. So those all sound delicious. And now I've just remembered I haven't eaten lunch.
They're actually not too bad. I actually have a mango peach smoothie with me today.
No way.
Yeah. So you can see they come in these little packets here, but it's just kind of a dried powder that you add water to. So this would actually, you'd add 175 milliliters of water and let it sit for 2 to 5 minutes, and then you can stick a straw in it. You saw in that package they put a straw on the top septum portion there, and then you can drink it.
And so this is the packaging. This is food that you brought up with you, or that you had while you were at the ISS.
Yes. Yeah, actually, this is all food that we have available to us on the standard, what we call the standard menu on the space station. And so actually the graphic there showed quite a bit of the standard menu that they're going to take with them. So
let's pull
space
it back
food
up,
is space
actually.
food. Yeah, we can use the food that we have been using. You know, our food lab at Johnson Space Center actually creates that food, and then they stabilize it and they package it for us and everything. So they do a really wonderful job out there. We've got different types of food. You know, you can see I've got this is a soup, tomato basil soup, so thermal stabilized. It's already hydrated, so you just throw it in that food warmer that we talked about, and then you can eat it. But then we also I have some shrimp cocktail here that's, you know, irradiated, so it's in a package that protects it. I'll show you. I've got a brownie too. This is probably my favorite one. But
are we eating it?
We might, if you're.
Yes. Look, see, they want us to eat. I don't know what happened, but it worked out. With what we were saying here.
So it's in an outer package to help protect it against, you know, radiation, and then it's in this inner package. And so this cosmic brownie, actually, the trick, Anne McLean, my crewmate, taught me. The trick is you got to put this in the food warmer and get it nice and warm, and then you can get it. But so what we do is we just take scissors and you open it up, and then it comes right out. So these brownies are nice because they don't have a ton of crumbs, and so you can actually just eat it pretty easily in space. You know, if you imagine, that would not happen in space.
It
would not fall. But yeah, so we've got all sorts of things that you can actually eat. The menu's pretty good and pretty diverse on the space station, and then as you saw, pretty diverse for Orion.
Nice. Yeah, that's amazing. And again, here's a look at the crowd that's starting to continue to grow here as we get closer and closer to launch. We are now under an hour from the opening of our 2-hour launch window at 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time. And so let's take some questions from social media. We haven't taken some of those for a while. You put that brownie away, Nicole, or I'm going to steal it. Nicole, we have another celebrity who submitted a question. Let's take a look.
Okay.
A quick question for the Artemis crew. What food from Earth would you bring with you into space? And why would it be lasagna?
Plus blanc que blanc.
Because that's the greatest food.
Again, not really a question.
Yeah.
Because he was like, it's lasagna.
It's got to be lasagna. You know, there is lasagna on Space Station, and it wasn't too bad. Probably not my favorite food of all, but yeah, lasagna's not a bad option. It's a high-calorie meal. If you're trying to, you know, carb load for a spacewalk or something, it's a great option.
Yeah, I remember Christina saying that her favorite food on the menu, and actually, she was saying that she was getting in trouble because people kept on saying, you can't eat mac and cheese every day, Christina.
You know, we mentioned the mac and cheese and brisket earlier. Man, I would put those two on a tortilla. That would be great.
That sounds delicious, delicious. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for sending in those questions. For everyone from a 5-year-old that we got a question from to all the way to Roy Woods Jr. there, a comedian. So thank you so much. And if you're just joining us, welcome to the Space Coast of Florida, where we are counting down to liftoff of Artemis II. You see a beautiful aerial shot there of our rocket on the pad. For the first time in more than 50 years, we are sending humans to fly around the moon and back, and we're taking you all of you with us on this next chapter of human spaceflight. I'm NASA's Megan Cruz, and this is NASA astronaut Nicole Ayers. Great to have you here, Nicole.
Yes, this has been a beautiful day. Excited. We're continuing to march towards this launch.
Yeah, and if all goes as planned, this crew could travel farther from Earth than any other humans before them and see parts of the moon no one has ever laid eyes on. How exciting.
Yes. Exciting is an understatement, I think.
That's true.
We're going to see the far side of the moon for the first time by humans in a long time. It's important.
And as the crowd again builds behind us, more activity that you're seeing here at the Kennedy Space Center press site. We also have a ton of people gathering around the world to watch this history-making moment. So let's take a look at those watch parties now.
Oh.
That crowd has grown. We checked with them probably like 30 minutes ago, and it was half that. But again, as we get closer and closer to launch, we are seeing more and more people gather together, wanting to experience this together and not just in a vacuum at home, you know?
Yes, this is so exciting. Look at all of those people. Man.
And now here we are back in Seattle, the Museum of Flight. Again, people gathered there to show their kid. We see someone walking in the second row there. His first crewed launch to the moon. How exciting.
That is exciting.
Hello, everyone. Oh, that's so great. And now let's get you up to speed on what's happened so far. Again, we are now within an hour of the opening of our launch window. So what has been happening so far today? Well, a lot. After waking up and grabbing a bite to eat, our Artemis II crew suited up inside the historic crew quarters, a tradition that dates back decades. Teams helped them into their custom Orion crew survival suits, and just like other crews before them, they gathered around a table for a card game to pass the time, but to also burn off any lingering bad luck before they walked in the footsteps of every NASA astronaut launching from Kennedy Space Center since Apollo 7 in 1968. They walked outside the Neil Armstrong Operations and Checkout Building to greet a crowd of family, friends, supporters before getting into their Astrovan for their security-escorted ride out to historic Launch Complex 39B. They got a close-up look at the SLS rocket, then walked across the crew access arm and climbed one by one inside their Orion spacecraft. After that, teams conducted final checks with the crew before closing both hatches, the crew module hatch, as well as what you're seeing there, the launch abort system hatch. And now we are back live at the pad where the closeout crew is getting ready to leave the White Room. They are now tethered, Nicole, because they are about to move some pieces that connect the Orion spacecraft to the White Room, correct?
Yes, there's kind of what I would call a shroud. You can see them working that there. So it is actually connected, so that way the gap between the crew access arm and the crew module, and well, I guess that's the LAS there, is covered. But they're about to remove that so that the crew access arm is not connected to the rocket in any way, so that it can retract here in the next few minutes.
And for how we're looking with the launch countdown milestones, let's go to Daryl Nail in the Launch Control Center.
All right, thank you very much, Megan. And as you can see there, the finishing touches, as you've been talking about, to the LAS, which brings me to that subject, because we currently are hearing the launch team is working an issue that was reported out with the LAS. At least there's an issue apparently with a battery on the LAS. The engineer who is in charge of the launch abort system sits on console here, reported that a temperature for one of the two LAS batteries is out of range. And although it's not a constraint for launch right now, it would be when that temperature is checked inside of T-minus 6 minutes, which is inside of terminal count. So right now, the team is working some troubleshooting on this issue. Going to follow, of course, along closely with what they learn. But again, a battery temp for one of the two batteries on the LAS is out of spec, and the team is working to understand, first of all, whether or not this may be a sensor issue, or is there an issue with the battery itself. So again, looking into it, troubleshooting and researching as we speak. With regards to the weather, we did get some good news there. Launch Weather Officer Mark Berger reporting to the launch director that the weather chances have now improved for the window. We are up to 90% go, which is great news. Again, 90% go. That is up from the 80% that we started when we had the first weather forecasts come out officially 3 days ago. And so that is great. And for anybody who's here in the launch area knows that is certainly viewable. They can see that by just looking up. So we're getting some good clearing as forecast. And then just a reminder for those people who are watching the launch from the nearby area that if you're watching on an internet-enabled device, just remember that there may be a little bit of a delay. Can't tell you how much of a delay, but since it's on an internet device, sometimes this broadcast might be a little behind what you're actually seeing. So just keep that in mind as you are watching. Don't wait to the last second to run outside if you're inside your RV or your camper or your house. That's the latest here from the firing room. Of course, we'll keep track of that last battery issue. We'll send it back now to Megan and Nicole at the host desk.
Two of them there had to be tethered to the inside of the white room, because obviously now we have detached the white room from the Orion spacecraft.
Yes, that view is quite something.
Yeah, spectacular. Yep. Oh no, I'm sorry, I forgot. Nicole's scared of heights. An astronaut afraid of heights is actually not uncommon, as we've learned today. But yes, so obviously again, things proceeding as we march closer to the opening of our 2-hour launch window at 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, the closeout crew just finishing up those last couple of things they have to do before leaving the white room and then leaving the pad, leaving only the 4 Artemis II crew members inside the spacecraft by themselves at the pad.
Yeah, and then we'll be curious to follow the battery issue on the LAS as well. I think sometimes it's just a sensor issue, sometimes it's a battery issue. So hopefully they figure that out quickly.
And so if we can take a shot of the crew inside the capsule, if one's available, why don't we talk a little bit more about each of them? So we have Artemis II Commander Reed Wiseman, Baltimore native, and he's actually, you see his feet in that shot there from inside Orion. He's been in space once before as flight engineer for Expedition 41 aboard the International Space Station from May through November 2014. During the 165-day mission, Reed and his crewmates completed more than 300 science experiments in areas like human physiology, medicine, physical science, earth science, as well as astrophysics. They actually set a milestone for station science by completing a record 82 research hours in a single week. He also served as chief of NASA's astronaut office from December 2020 to December 2022. His 2 daughters were out to wave goodbye to him as he made his way to the launch pad. And again, there's Reed's feet. Reed is the one sitting in the seat to the right, closest to our camera there. So looks like he's relaxed by the body language of his feet.
Yeah, I think they're kind of in a holding pattern, if you will, or a waiting period. So it makes sense that he's a little bit relaxed. He's also kind of just a relaxed person in general. He's wicked smart, but has a demeanor that keeps everybody calm. And so I think we're seeing that here today.
And so in this shot, Reed is the one sitting on the left, and to his right, Artemis II pilot Victor Glover. NASA selected the California native as an astronaut in 2013, and at the time he was actually serving as a legislative fellow in the United States Senate. His first trip to space, November 2020, pilot of NASA's SpaceX Crew 1 mission. That was the first operational mission of NASA's Commercial Crew program, which resumed launching American rockets from American soil to the International Space Station since the end of the shuttle program. Victor is a U.S. Navy captain and naval aviator who served as a test pilot, racking up more than 3,500 flight hours in more than 40 different aircraft. So again, he probably feels pretty at home in the pilot seat of Artemis II.
Yeah, I think he does.
He got to say goodbye to his wife and 4 kids. Again, those were the family that he had here at Kennedy Space Center before the 4 of them drove out to the pad.
Yeah, and you can see there, we talked about Victor's energy earlier, and you can see him working through, pushing some buttons on the displays. Looked like he was pulling up a procedure, so he's following along and ready to go.
Les deux qui sont là, ils prennent le buzz.
Mission specialist Christina Cook, sitting on the upper left-hand corner of the screen there, native of Grand Rapids, Michigan. was selected to the astronaut corps in 2013, same class as Victor, served as flight engineer on the International Space Station from March 2019 to February 2020. During that time, she set a record for the longest single spaceflight by a woman with a total of 328 consecutive days in space. How cool. She also participated in the first ever all-female spacewalk. And before becoming an astronaut, Christina helped build space science instruments and led scientific fieldwork in some of the most remote environments on the planet. Her hobbies include surfing, rock climbing, community service, yoga, and photography.
Go ahead, NCD.
There's a couple of suppressed overvolt messages. We're going to go ahead and clear those off your screen.
We see them and we copy.
All right.
NASA test director.
We're still working here, trying to get through everything. So we're getting close, and then trying to talk that other issue that we just picked up a little bit ago. But I think work-wise, we're doing really well.
Sounds good, NCD. We're doing great on board.
Glad to hear it.
NASA test director giving an update to the crew. Some messages flashed on their displays. Just wanted to say that they didn't have to worry about that. We're going to clear that. And that also just reassuring the crew, again, that they are tracking and working the issue with the launch abort system battery.
Yeah.
All right. And then first-time flyer, Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen will fly to the moon as mission specialist on the Artemis II mission. The London, Ontario native selected as an astronaut in 2009. After that, he worked as Capcom at NASA's Mission Control Center in Houston. Capcom stands for Capsule Communicator and is the sole direct voice communicating with astronauts while in space. Jeremy also participated in training exercises, really cool ones, like living on the ocean floor off the coast of Florida to simulate deep space exploration for a week. In 2017, he became the first Canadian to lead a NASA astronaut class. He also enjoys getting out on a sailboat, rock climbing, and mountain biking. He has a wife and 3 children. And he's the one that you see bottom left-hand corner of your screen. I know, I'm trying to see what he's doing there. Christina's looking too. And so there is your Artemis II crew inside the Orion spacecraft. And this is actually the 7th time NASA astronauts will launch on a new NASA spacecraft designed for crew. And if you're wondering about the first 6 crewed test flights, here they are.
Le projet Mercury.
Gemini 3, Gus Grissom, John Young, March 23, 1965. Apollo 7, Wally Schirra, Don Isley, Walt Cunningham, October 11, 1968. Space Transportation System, or STS-1, John Young, Robert Crippen, April 12, 1981. Then NASA SpaceX Demo 2, Doug Hurley, Bob Behnken, May 30th, 2020, followed by NASA's Boeing crew flight test. Butch Wilmore, Sonny Williams, June 5th, 2024. And now, Artemis II with Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy. It is really surprising, honestly, to hear that through all these decades, through all these launches we've had, this is only our 7th new vehicle that we're testing for crew.
Yeah, you know, we have so many different missions that we think about and we talk about, but really 7 vehicles that we've tested and that we're flying. You know, I like to think of spaceflight really as a permanent test, right? We have, you know, hundreds of missions or so. You know, an airplane that gets tested and then flown has thousands of data points. And so really spaceflight is always going to be in the test field. And I think it's important to remember that, especially as we put humans on rockets that we never have before, or for the 7th time we start a new vehicle and a new mission.
Just getting word now that White Room closeouts are complete. And so the closeout crew is preparing to leave the pad.
It's exciting stuff. We are making good time, and the closeout crew is doing really well.
41 minutes, 43 seconds and counting until the opening of our window. And Artemis II is a 10-day mission that will send the 4-person crew on a journey around the moon and back to Earth. It will be a critical step towards future lunar and Mars missions.
We're going back to the moon because it's the next step in our journey to Mars. We need to go explore the moon. There's vast regions of unexplored areas with the coldest, darkest places in our solar system. This is a test mission, and when we get off the planet, we might come right back home. We might spend 3 or 4 days around Earth. We might go to the moon. That's where we want to go, but it is a test mission, and we are ready for every scenario as we ride this amazing space launch system and the Orion spacecraft.
But another reason we're going back to the moon is to fulfill NASA's mission, which is to explore the unknown in air and space, to innovate for the benefit of humanity, and to inspire the world through discovery. And when we succeed and when we accomplish the things that we set out to accomplish, that inspiration not only can set up new things to happen, but it also is a reminder in tough times that we're capable of doing great things when we work together.
The thing I love about the moon is that it's not just a beacon for exploration and this platform of possibilities for incredible missions like this, but it has benefits. That's actually why we're racing towards it. Those benefits are really wide in nature. You have everything from innovation, technology development, not only for future missions going deeper into the solar system, but technologies that come back to Earth. You have inspiration, a whole generation of people starting this pipeline of STEM workers and manufacturers and operators that are excited to see what you can do when you work hard and you come together as a team.
When I think about the 4 of us flying around the far side of the moon, seeing that Earth rise, taking images and video and sending them back to you, the feeling that I have inside is hope. We know that Artemis II is not the solution for humanity on planet Earth, but it is a contribution in the positive column. We hope that just for a moment that people will pause and say, wow, it's extraordinary when you look back upon the Earth with over 8 billion people, and you see this concrete example of what humanity can do, this extraordinary thing when we set big goals
and CDR NTD
to achieve them.
And so Mission Control Houston will control the flight of Orion after a liftoff here at Kennedy Space Center. Here's Gary Jordan, who's embedded with that team. Gary, you might have to pause because we did just hear a call out to the commander in Orion.
Will do, Megan. I think that was Commander Reed Wiseman responding to prepare for some of the next steps. We are now holding at the T-minus 10-minute hold. Expected a 30-minute hold. So we are well on the countdown. We are well on the timeline to meet this L-minus time and launch towards the beginning of the window, but continuing to track progress along the way. Again, I'm here with the Artemis II flight control teams in Mission Control Houston. The team in the room behind me has been monitoring the countdown and verifying their own mission-specific launch criteria of the Space Launch System, the Orion spacecraft integrity, and its crew. During the final poll before launch, if all looks good from each of the flight controllers in this room, Flight Director Judd Freeling will report a go for launch from Houston Flight. Upon liftoff, teams here take control of the mission and communicate with the crew while they fly on the Space Launch System. This phase of flight is highly dynamic, and each console position has a dedicated and important role of looking after critical systems. You'll hear calls from Capcom and NASA astronaut Stan Love in this room to the Artemis II crew as milestones are reached during the more than 8 minutes of powered flight on the core stage. Liftoff and ascent are just the beginning. This room will be staffed around the clock over the next 10 days to oversee every moment of the mission through splashdown. Here from the Johnson Space Center, we'll be streaming the mission live 24/7 so anyone can follow the crew's journey, take peeks inside the spacecraft, and share the experience of a lunar flyby with astronauts looking down at the moon's surface. Teams here have been rehearsing tirelessly in simulations to throw every conceivable and inconceivable scenario their way. We are ready and eager to begin the Artemis II mission. Still milestones to come as we continue the countdown, but we'll be right back with you during the ascent phase of today's flight. With that, Megan, I will send it back over to you at the Space Coast.
So much, Gary. Under 37 minutes until the opening of our 2-hour launch window, 6:24 p.m. Eastern. I've never been more excited for a time. But why don't we send it back over to Megan Carter with the Moon Board to learn more about what happens after ascent.
Absolutely. I am definitely also getting excited. Things feel like they're starting to pick up a little pace here. A lot is about to happen within the first 10 minutes of launch, but what happens after those first 10 minutes? Let me take you over here to my mission map so we can kind of jump ahead and let me explain a few things. So, our main engine cutoff is going to stand for MECO, and that is essentially where the rocket's job is done, and it is then going to turn the propulsion duties over to our ICPS. That stands for Interim Cryogenic Propulsion Stage. Don't try and say that too many times fast, but the ICPS is going to be right here, and that's our in-space propulsion. About 50 minutes into, after about 50 minutes into launch, it is going to conduct that first burn, and that's going to be the perigee raise maneuver. Essentially what that is going to do is going to raise the spacecraft from a lowest point of Earth just a little bit higher into space, and then they are going to conduct that nice path that's going to set them on that nice circular path around the Earth. That's when they're going to start to be able to really check out the spacecraft. The Orion spacecraft is going to be able to, like we've talked about, be maneuvered by the crew. They're going to check out those life support systems, and communication checkout's going to be vital at that point as well, obviously. Then they will be conducting that another burn, and that's going to raise them just a little bit higher again. And then they will, it'll be about time for the ICPS to separate, and they will start another lap around the Earth as well. Now, the ICPS, but even after it separates, its job will not be done because they will have the opportunity to conduct something called the Proximity Operations Demonstration. And this is going and the and practice this mission, but that is again going to be critical for those lunar missions in the future. Now, all right, after that ICPS has separated and they've done that second lap, they're going to conduct 2 more burns. And what these burns are going to do is set them up to the high enough orbit and a fast enough speed in order to conduct the translunar injection. This is going to be that critical moment and that critical milestone where they are going to produce about 6,000 pounds of thrust. And this is that point that is going to take them out of low Earth orbit into deep space, and it's going to set them on that nice path towards that lunar flyby. And I know we have talked a little bit about why this could be a record-breaking flyby and journey to the moon. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Megan so she can tell us just why.
Yeah, she's talking about the distance record set by the Apollo 13 astronauts in 1970. They were 248,655 miles away from Earth, and this Artemis II crew might surpass that on flight day 6 when they fly around the moon by more than 4,000 miles.
Yeah, it's a long ways. It's tough to fathom 250,000 miles from Earth, right? I mean, space, the space station is only 250 miles, and so we're going, I don't want to do the public math, but we're going much further than that. But it's important, right? Because we want to get back to the moon. We want to see the surface. We want to see the far side of the moon. And the way we do that is by breaking distance records.
Yeah, and the exact distance record depends on exactly when they launch, like the time, the day. So we'll learn more as we go into this 10-day mission with the Artemis II crew. But here we are, 32 minutes, 50 seconds and counting from the opening of our launch window. Feels really, really surreal here as more and more people come to gather on the press site lawn here at Kennedy Space Center. Why don't we take a look at this video that we have here? Some familiar faces who wanted to wish our Artemis II crew a safe journey.
Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, you are the real deal. You're flying to the moon for all of us, and we are in awe. You're the true heroes.
You are not just astronauts. You are pioneers, venturing deeper into the unknown. But you are not alone. We will be all cheering you on from planet Earth.
Hey, I'm Victor Wembanyama, and I play basketball in the NBA. But I'm not only interested in shooting hoops. I'm also interested in shooting stars, dark matter, and all other types of astronomical phenomenon. And to the Artemis II astronauts who are shooting for the moon, I wish them good luck and Godspeed.
Hi everybody, I'm Ryan Gosling and I play a biologist who goes to space to save the planet in the film Project Hail Mary. But the Artemis II astronauts are going to space for real and they will travel farther from Earth than any humans in history. Sending all our best wishes to the Artemis II crew.
I just want to say how proud I am of each of you and how inspired you make me. But it's not just about me. Your mission is going to inspire future generations of scientists, engineers, athletes, and dreamers to do something that they never thought possible.
Hey, it's Roy Wood Jr., and I want to wish the Artemis II crew a happy and safe journey to the moon, well, around the moon, to go around. I know what you're doing. You got to look for a parking space. This is to go around the moon, make sure it's somewhere to park, and then you park journey. Good luck.
It's actually a really good way to explain what how this mission builds. Again, we are hoping to land astronauts on the surface of the moon in maybe 2 years. So yes, we are looking around the moon on this lunar flyby mission to see where we might park. Thank you, Roy Wood Jr. Okay, and as we look at this live view of the rocket on the pad, there is a spectacular place here at Kennedy Space Center to watch launch from, and that's the Banana Creek viewing area. Why don't we go back there where the crowd is excited, and Leah has the best assignment ever, talking to people who are super excited about being here for Artemis II.
Oh my gosh, Megan, you talk about the excitement being palpable. I'm telling you, everybody here on pins and needles as we get just about half an hour away from launch. I'm walking around talking to people, and I'm just struck again and again by how many people are here from across the agency. I want to introduce you to just a small portion of the people across NASA who have been supporting this mission.
Patty Ortiz, NASA Armstrong Flight Research Center, Orion Program.
Orion.
Kathy Graves, Glenn Research Center, Office of STEM Engagement.
Here we go.
David Alexander, NASA Glenn Research Center, Office of STEM Engagement.
Jennifer Becerra, Johnson Space Center, the Office of STEM Engagement.
Here we go. Right back here. Where are you from?
I'm from NASA Glenn Research Center, Joseph Panakitis.
Joseph, here we go.
Wes Furman from APL.
Maria Arredondo from Headquarters, Next Gen STEM.
Mark Robinson, Stennis Space Center, Commercial Space.
Amira Flores, Armstrong, Office of the STEM Engagement.
Molly Kearns, NASA Glenn, Space Communications and Navigation.
Matthew Pierce, Goddard Institute for Space Studies in New York City.
Here we go, and right over here.
Lauren Ring, Ames Research Center, Data Integration.
So we're coming together. We're one big NASA team, one big NASA family, and we have one major message before we launch tonight. Okay, guys, what are we going to say? 1, 2, 3.
Oh my gosh, that made me so emotional. That was so inspiring to see. I mean, wow, yeah, that was great. I mean, just to hear everybody say their position, what they're doing to support this mission is amazing. And I'm sure this was something that really rang true and resonated with NASA's Administrator Jared Isaacman, again, to see the workforce come together to do the work and then to be here for launch. So why don't we actually go over to him now with our Jasmine Hopkins at one of our other viewing locations.
All right, Megan, thank you so much. The energy here on the balcony is honestly becoming electric as we get so close to launch, and now we are thrilled to welcome NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman. Jared, we're really entering a golden age of exploration. How will Artemis II set the pace for the coming years?
Well, I mean, Artemis II is the opening act, right? This is the test mission. This is getting very comfortable with the SLS rocket, the Orion spacecraft. No humans have ever flown on this before, right? And we're going to put it through its paces. We'll go into Earth orbit for a little bit, make sure Orion's doing okay, and then we are sending them, right? We're going to send them farther into space than any humans might have gone before, 250,000 miles away, and it's going to set up for the subsequent missions. That's why we're going into the golden age of science and discovery right now, because you're going to see a moon rocket launch in 2027 when we do our testing with the lander. We're going to go for the landing on Artemis IV in 2028, and in parallel, we're going to build the moon base, right? And that is going to be filled with science discovery and tech demonstrations that's going to support the enduring presence we're trying to create on the surface.
Absolutely. So honestly, history-making years ahead of us, you know, with Artemis 3 and 4. But first is Artemis 2. What will be our single greatest takeaway from this mission?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, after ignition, to me, the moment that I'm going to be most excited for is splashdown. There's no question about that. Good shoots coming down off the West Coast. But look, I think the takeaway from this is gaining extreme comfort in the Orion spacecraft, right? I mean, this is very different than what we've done for more than a half century, right? I mean, the velocities that spacecraft is going to re-enter at, it's going to be new territory for us. We want to get our arms around that completely. So I would say the performance of SLS plus Orion is everything on this one. We want to make sure we do it in as a safe way as we possibly can, understanding what we are undertaking right here, bring our crew back, learn as much we can from the vehicle, set up for Artemis 3 in 2027.
Right, and Administrator, we've actually had a pretty young audience today here, some kids running around the balcony. How do you hope Artemis 2 inspires that next generation?
You know, I talk about this all the time. Like, you know, one of our overarching KPIs that we should always be tracking is the number of people living and working in space. Well, you know what's another strong number 2 on that one? It's the number of kids that are dressing up as astronauts for Halloween, so that they grow up, that they're inspired to want to join in this grand endeavor, whether they come work with us here at NASA or they join in industry, but they're helping humankind venture out farther, pursue all the secrets of the universe.
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of kids dressed as astronauts this year. And finally, Jared, you've really made it a personal mission to get to know the people behind the work at NASA. Do you have any final thoughts, any final words before today's history-making launch?
Yeah, well, one, I want to express a lot of appreciation. I'll tell you what, the 4 astronauts on top of Artemis 2 know this. It takes an army to pull a mission together like this, right? Across all 10 of our centers, all of our commercial partners, the international partners that come together to make this possible. My sincere appreciation for everyone who is currently working the mission right now, so getting them ready for launch, that will be watching over them in mission control, recovering this crew when they splash down off the West Coast. I have complete trust and confidence in your abilities, and everybody else who's not directly working on Artemis 2, Artemis 3 is coming up next year. When this mobile launcher gets back in the VAB, we're going to start stacking.
Wow, plenty of excitement ahead of us. Jared Isaacman, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Of course. All right. And with that, let's get back to the countdown with NASA's Megan Cruz.
Under 25 minutes and counting from the opening of our 2-hour launch window, and take a look at all these people behind us. I literally, every moment I turn around and I see the clock, I am like, oh, wow. Oh, wow.
There are more people and less time.
Yes, exactly, which is a great problem to have. Yes. Now, this first crewed test flight of NASA's Artemis program coincides with the 250th anniversary of our country's founders signing the Declaration of Independence. Exploration is a part of America's DNA, and it continues now with our return to the moon.
250 years ago, 13 colonies laid the foundation for the greatest and most enduring democracy in the history of the world. One driven by courage, faith, and freedom. From that moment, we became a nation defined not by where we stood, but by how far we were willing to go. We conquered vast frontiers, invented tools that shaped a modern world. We found light in the dark, and we rose from the earth. Faster, higher, farther. We pushed beyond the sky and into the unknown. We carried our courage into the cosmos, and we planted the American flag on the moon, the defining achievement of American superiority in space. Today, our curiosity stretches farther than ever. American robots search ancient rivers on Mars. New telescopes unfold to glimpse the first stars. And a new generation prepares to return to the moon, this time to stay. For 250 years, America has carried the light of humanity forward. But American exceptionalism isn't inherited, it's earned. Our greatness comes not only from what we've done, but what we're still determined to discover. Because in every era, across every horizon, America is at its best when it's reaching for something greater. America celebrates 250 years, and we are leading the world into the future.
22 minutes, 15 seconds and counting from Artemis II, NASA's boldest test flight in a generation. The crew has said this often, that they hope it inspires children around the world. And recently, a group of kids here at Kennedy Space Center got a surprise of a lifetime while watching that rocket roll to the launch pad.
So tell me what color it is. And you're going to be on that rocket.
We're going to be on that rocket.
I could make it a little bit longer. Did you see it? Okay, so everybody's looking at the rocket because it is kind of cool and impressive. One of the coolest things happening over there right now, though, is it's on top of a giant tractor.
Doesn't all food come in like tubes? It's in these like little plastic bags. You have to like rehydrate it. Sushi. There's not. I haven't seen sushi in space. It's probably hard to keep that back.
Sushi mashed together.
My favorite part was this one little girl, she had a question. She had patiently held her hand for a long time, and Christina turns to her and says, okay, what's your question? She just goes, I forgot. It was like, that's a perfect little kid moment. I just like,
wait, are you my mother's cats too, astronauts?
What? Say that again?
Never mind. It is hard to say. Go Artemis!
These two? Yeah. Put it on. Yeah. There you go. I like your dabbing astronaut back there.
it's just so fun to see the enthusiasm, the energy, and a little bit of chaos.
3, 2, 1.
Wasn't that so cute?
I love kids and their excitement and, you know, even just being real. Like, I don't remember what I was
I know,
gonna
he
ask.
goes, but I'm glad you're here. Now here we are, Space Center Houston. The crowd has exponentially grown throughout the day. We started showing you live shots from in there probably an hour ago, and now take a look at all the people there getting ready to witness history together. It's something really special to be able to witness something like this together.
Yeah, you know, we've heard from celebrities and officials and kids, and, you know, it's amazing. People from all around the world came here today to Florida to watch, so it's something, it's hard to put into words, just how much support for this mission we're seeing today.
And great news, too. Remember, the team was tracking an issue with the launch abort system battery. They appear to have cleared that issue, so we are go for launch.
Yes, it's exciting.
U.S. Space and Rocket Center here, Huntsville, Alabama, waving to the Artemis II crew sitting right there inside Orion. Inside of 20 minutes from the opening of our launch window, and right now we are targeting the top of that launch window, so we could be launching here in about 19 minutes, Nicole.
Wow, I don't know if I expected this today. I'm excited, and, you know, I'm glad they were able to clear the problem with the battery on the LAS, and everything has gone really smoothly today. It's been great. The weather cleared up. It's a beautiful day for a launch.
And so now, as we are so close to possibly launch now, just what are your final thoughts as we are about to embark on a mission back to the moon, the first time in more than 50 years?
Yeah, you know, just so proud of the crew and all of the teams here on the ground that made this happen. You know, they are carrying the torch from the Apollo era into the Artemis era. And, you know, as the crew likes to say, they want to be the shoulders that the next generation.
And let's see, GLS, can you help us with that, please?
They want to be the crew wants to be the shoulders that the next generation can climb on.
001.
You know, I think it's in their patch. We're going for all. It's in the name of their capsule, integrity, representing humility and the professionalism of everyone that got them there today. So proud of them. We love them. We're excited for them, and we cannot wait to see what they see.
Just leveraging everything we've learned so far as an agency, taking us from Apollo now to the launch pad here, 39B, with Orion and SLS poised to again fly us into the history books. And before we leave you now here at the host desk to get back into operations, we just wanted to answer one question for you guys. We asked you earlier on today, what are you most excited for? And we asked you to go vote on Instagram and Twitch. Instagram, you guys said launch. Twitch, you guys said lunar flyby. So I think you guys will all be very excited since we are now about 17 minutes from the opening of our launch window today. And so with that, as we approach terminal count, let's send it back to Daryl Nail in Firing Room 1. Daryl.
All right, thank you, Megan and Nicole, and just want to give you an update on the launch abort system that you just reported that they cleared. They believe, they're convinced, this is an instrumentation failure. So there are 2 batteries on the LAS. The LAS, of course, and with the help of my 2-year-old son's model rocket, Daniel said I could use this, so it's okay. The LAS is right here. It's the tower above Orion. Orion capsule is inside of here. It's used to pull Orion off the rocket in case something's going on with the rocket, either on the pad or in flight. 2 batteries are bad. Well, I'm sorry, one of the 2 batteries reported an out-of-family temperature, and it was very much out of family. And so they checked their data going back into the vehicle assembly building where they recharged the batteries and worked on them. And they have good, solid data, they reported, that tells them that this is an instrumentation failure, that there's something wrong with the sensor. And so they took it before the mission management team, which has to accept the risk, any changes to launch commit criteria, which this would be one, and they all fully accepted it. So now we are clear as far as that constraint is concerned. And one quick thing as we count down now, we are getting into the final minutes before liftoff. There's a 2-hour window. We haven't quite set the T0 yet, but this is a list of the cutouts. There are 150 cutouts that are included for this 2-hour launch window. And that's important. They're in very small print. That's important because there's basically 16 minutes inside this window that they cannot launch. And these are because of small things flying in orbit. There's a lot more things in orbit than there were back in Artemis 1 when we had 35 to 40 cutouts. For that reason, because of these 156 cutouts, they're going to be managing the launch window as we go forward. So they may have to wait out one of these cutouts. They range in time between 2 seconds to 23 seconds, but you'll hear the NASA test director talk through that. We're getting ready to merge that loop from NASA test director Jeff Spaulding. And so now I'm listening to the launch team get ready to merge their operational channel. We're now entering one of the most consequential phases of launch day, and that's terminal count, the final 10 minutes.
And OTC, NTD, N212 for comm check.
Good comm. How me?
I hear the same. STC?
2.
GTC?
GTC is on 212.
All right, copy that.
NASA Test Director Jeff Spaulding confirming communications with his team. There will be 2 polls that we'll hear. One from Spaulding, the NASA Test Director, confirming the ground systems and the launch team are ready to proceed. At this point, we have a clear board, no constraints, but we need confirmation from each individual on the NASA Test Director team. So we'll hear him poll his team. The other poll that we're waiting for is the poll from Launch Director Charlie Blackwell Thompson, who will take that final status from NASA management before giving the go to come out of a hold. And you're seeing the clock count down at L-12 minutes.
CCL, OTC, Orion, RS1.
CCL.
Yes, sir. Reconfigure ARS primary loop ISO valves.
Copy, that's in work.
And CDR, OTC, Orion, Earth 1.
Go.
ARS loop ISO valves are being closed at this time.
Integrity copies.
NGDLP.
Go.
Yes, I had a discussion with Sea Ice and with MER Manager regarding the observation the Sea Ice had a few minutes ago. They were able to confirm with BCI photos that the condition that they observed has been there since 2025. MER Manager has had a chance to review the findings, and they do not have any constraints from either a Sea Ice or MER Manager perspective.
Okay. Copy all. And Launch Director, NTD, you copy?
Yes, sir. I copy. That's good news.
OTC, CCL 212.
OTC.
ARS primary loop isolation valve configuration is complete.
Allez, H-11 secondes. H-11 minutes.
And CGLS NTD, cancel pending, please.
CLS copies, and that's
complete.
Allez.
And for our personnel, we got a little bit more work to do before we pick up the clock, and we're about a little over a minute from getting to T-minus 10 minutes, but we've canceled the resume time there, and then we'll pick it up after we get through all of our work and anything else that we need to do to get through the remainder of counts. So we'll continue working that to get to our T0 today. So when we get to about 50 seconds from now, we'll extend that hold.
Les vérifications finales parce qu'on va avoir une droite là.
CVSE 400 290, looking to verify that we are configured for ascent.
Là, faut savoir qu'il y a tout le monde qui a dégagé du pas de tir.
Yep, give me about 2 more minutes. I'm going to start CMA2.
Ils sont réfugiés dans les bunkers. Hein. Mais en 4e vitesse.
COSE, hold requested.
Copy that.
I have an LCC violation of O-CT-004, S-band transponder anomaly. This was a transient LCC violation, so transponder 1 had a demodulated SNR estimate that went down to 2 dBm when it should have been between 10 and 13. It is now back up to 12, but we did lose that for just a moment. It does not appear that we lost our bit sync or carrier lock, which would be indicative that we lost our lock with the vehicle. So at this point, recommendation would still be go. However, we do have a pre-planned contingency procedure if we want to look at that. But again, this is transient, so we're back in a nominal range.
All right, let's see, LPE NTD.
Yeah, we're not seeing that hit. So I guess the question for COSE, was that less than 3 samples? Is that below our persistence?
Stand by, let me look. It did look like it did persist for several seconds on mine, but let me take a look at the number of samples.
Could I get a repeat on the affected LCC, please?
Yes, ma'am, that's going to be O-CT-004.
Thank you.
Yeah, us taking a look at the data right here, looks like that was a single sample.
Yeah, copy that. RFTS does report that they also lost lock for about 5 seconds. So I would love to ask KUS and see if they also lost lock with the vehicle for any extended amount of period.
And COSE, while we're doing that, these are 1/10 hertz measurements, correct? So we would have had to lose it for over 10 seconds to get a second sample?
Yes, sir, that's correct. It is 1/10 hertz.
Yeah, so from our perspective, the allowance is effectively up to 30 seconds, up to 3 samples based on the 1/10 hertz. This is not an LCC violation, I believe.
Yes, sir, I would agree with that at this point. Copy that.
We're checking with KUS on 232. I don't think they have 212 access. We're trying to verify, but it sounds like they have a loss of lock as well. About 2 seconds.
Okay. And I guess for both KUS and COSE, do we have lock now?
That's affirmed. We do have lock for COSE.
Yeah, so from the integration console perspective, we did have a temporary loss there within the allowable, and per the requirement, let's go.
And this is Houston Flight. We have lock and we have good telemetry here in GSC.
And KUS has reported too, they have good lock now. So with all of that, OSC, then are we in a go configuration per your LCC?
Yes, sir. Recommendation would be go.
Okay, LP, you concur with that?
Yes, sir. LP concurs go.
And Launch Director?
Yes, sir. Launch Director concurs go.
All right, and I'm going to go ahead and just verify everybody has everything else complete, Launch Director, and if we do, we'll be ready to pick up the poll at that time, unless there's something else that you're aware of.
No, sir. Let's verify all our work is complete, and I would like one last check of our constraints list.
All right, let's see. OTC, are you still waiting for ComConfig, or are you...
That is affirmed, sir.
Okay, yeah, is that your only open item?
Yeah, OTC, this is CVSC. That 400 step 290 is complete. Copy.
Okay, so OTC, you're complete with all of your work?
That's affirmed.
All right, copy that. STC?
STC is complete.
And GTC?
GTC is complete.
Okay, excellent. All right, and LPE, just want to verify we have no open constraints at this time.
No open constraints. We have a clear board, sir.
Okay, tracking the same here. And Launch Director, with that, we are clear and ready to pick up the launch readiness poll with your go.
All right, sir. I am go for the poll.
All right. And for all personnel, this is the NTD conducting the Artemis II launch readiness check. Verify ready to resume count and go for launch. OTC.
GTC is go.
STC.
STC is go.
GTC.
C's go.
MCO.
CO is go.
Safety Console.
Safety Console is go.
LPE.
LPE's go.
RTD.
RTD's go.
Houston Flight.
Houston Flight is go.
ROC.
ROC is go.
And CDR.
Crew is go.
Copy that. Thank you, Reed. And Launch Director, NTD, our launch team is ready to proceed at this time.
All right, NTD, I copy all. At this time, I'll perform my poll. Attention on the net. This is the Launch Director performing the final poll for launch, verifying no constraints, and go for launch. EGS, Program Chief Engineer.
Artemis Chief Engineers are go.
Copy, thank you. EGS, Chief Safety Officer.
The Artemis CSOs are go.
Copy, thank you. Range Weather.
Launch weather is go.
Thank you, LWO. And Artemis MMT Chair.
MMT's go.
Thank you, John. And Integrity Launch Director.
Good Airways Charlie, PLT.
Thank you, Charlie. This is Victor. We are going for our families.
MS1.
This is Christina. We are going for our teammates.
MS2.
This is Jeremy. We are going for all humanity.
All right, Charlie, your Artemis II crew is go for launch. Full send.
I copy that. Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy. On this historic mission, you take with you the heart of this Artemis team, the daring spirit of the American people and our partners across the globe, and the hopes and dreams of a new generation. Good luck. Godspeed, Artemis II. Let's go. And NTD Launch Director.
Go ahead, Launch Director.
Yes, sir. You have a go to proceed with countdown.
Copy that. I'll put it in work. CDR, NTD.
Go.
Figure risers and initiate short purge per your EPROC 10.1.1, steps 8 and 9.
10.1.1, 8 and 9 going to work.
Copy. CVSC, NTD. Start and verify recordings of our Orion cameras.
Copy.
Okay. Well, there you heard it.
RSR, NTD.
RSR.
They're getting ready to start terminal count.
AR rotation enable at this time, please.
It's currently at T-minus 10 minutes. Once we wrap up this last bit of work.
SNA arm rotation enable complete.
We're going to start that clock.
Copy that. Thank you.
Integrity crew, close and lock visors.
You heard an issue, worked in real time with telemetry lock on the Orion. It was transitory, it was very short. They checked the data, confirmed that they had a good lock. This was with the S-band transmitter on the Orion. Worked through that issue, looked at the data, and cleared it. All with the world watching. Impressive work by the launch team. So we have a 2-hour window, which starts in just a few minutes at 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time and goes until 8:24 p.m. Eastern Time.
And ECL NTD will be waiting for your verification on the short purge.
ECL copies.
And for all personnel, once we get that short purge verification, we'll verify that we are clear to go, and then we'll proceed with the terminal count. ECL time estimate?
About a minute.
Copy.
So we're going into the launch window, but not by much, it looks like. Just wrapping up some final work. And once that's completed, you'll hear NASA Test Director Jeff Spaulding ask for the ground launch sequencer operator to go ahead and start the clock. The ground launch sequencer is an application software. It runs on top of the launch control system in the fire room. Acts like a conductor of an orchestra, executing hundreds of commands in precise order and timing.
Il est bloqué, frère, on comprend pas. Il y a 10 minutes. Il y a 10 minutes. C'est bloqué à 10 minutes.
And we're verifying our constraints.
Mais putain, mais... Arrêtez de bloquer le compteur, vous êtes stressé, je sais pas que ça soit rapporté, que j'ai fait 3 sorties de live pour rien.
Alright, and we're clear from cutouts.
Putain.
And with that, we're going to resume the clock
Ça me fait vraiment le cul, ça.
And CGLS, you can resume the clock on
Après,
your
il est minuit, quoi. Donc ça va.
GLS copies. 3, 2, 1, mark. GLS mainline has been initiated.
T-minus 10 minutes and counting.
Ah bah non, bah voilà. Ça bouge le timer.
Our new T0 is 6:35 p.m. Eastern Time. 6:35 p.m. Eastern Time. We are now counting down to liftoff of Artemis II. From now on, you're going to hear 2 voices on the loops. If everything goes nominally, NASA Test Director Jeff Spaulding, who's directly managing the launch team, and Alex Bendelos, the GLS operator who closely monitors the software. He has the ability to stop and restart the countdown. A lot of people ask about whether there's a launch button. There certainly is not.
Flight and Rock, our new T0 is 22:35:12.
Houston flight copies. Rock copies. 22:35:12.
Affirm.
There you heard confirmation of the exact T0, 6:35 and 12 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. Again, our T0 is 6:35 and 12 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. But as I was saying, there's no launch button. This is autonomous. But there is a button that keeps you from launching, and that button allows the GLS operator to pause the countdown outside of terminal count and during terminal count and submit a hold to the next holding point. So the clock won't stop right away. If there's an issue, we'll go to the next stable holding point. This is how GLS configures the rocket and ground systems to a stable point where they can stop the countdown if that's needed. But right now, we are counting down. Our next big milestone, looking to retract the crew access arm.
GLS is go for crew access arm retract.
And there you see the crew access arm moving away. That's the path that the astronauts took to ingress into the rocket. Until this point, that was their way off the pad if they needed to evacuate. But now with that arm retracting, the backup transitions to a launch abort system, and they'll begin arming that shortly. Of course, the launch abort system, great shot there of the crew access arm retracting away. The launch abort system is the tower at the top, and that's what would pull Orion and its crew off the top of the rocket in case of an emergency, whether it's on the ground or in flight. This is critical safety hardware that protects the lives of the astronauts. Starting at T-minus 6 minutes, the GLS will start bringing that and other high-energy systems online, starting with core stage pressurization. Weather is 90% go, the range is go, all systems are go.
GLS is go for core stage tank pressurization.
That means the replenish valve for the liquid hydrogen tank has now closed, and that tank is beginning to pressurize to flight levels because that hydrogen is naturally boiling inside the tank. We'll get the liquid oxygen tank a little later in the count. Now the team is waiting for verification that, if needed, the Artemis II crew could use the launch abort system to pull Orion safely off the top of the rocket in an emergency. Let's listen in for that call.
GLS verifies last capability available.
And CDR, do you copy?
CDR copies, last available.
That's great news, and you heard the NTD verify that with the commander of the mission.
GLS is go for FTS arm.
Now work is being done to arm the flight termination system. This is so the range safety can send a flight termination command if the rocket flies too far off track. There's a brief built-in delay, so the launch abort system has time to pull the astronauts to safety
GLS is go for
first.
LH2 high flow bleed check.
All right, the high flow bleed check. That's so the cryo team gets verification that the RS-25 engines, all 4 of them, are in the proper temperature range for launch.
GLS is go for core stage APU start.
Core stage APUs start. Those are auxiliary power units, high-speed turbines which provide pressure to hydraulic pumps that steer the RS-25 engines. We're going to see a gimbal test a little later at T-minus 2 minutes and 30 seconds. This is what allows that to happen. coming up in about 20 seconds. We're listening for go for purge sequence 4. That's a helium purge of the 4 core stage engines downstream of the propellant valve. This gets all the air and moisture out of there.
GLS is go for purge sequence 4.
Moving through the milestones. All is looking good. Coming up in just a few seconds, we're going to get that thrust vector control actuator test. This is a gimbaling of the engines. There are the 4 RS-25s, 3 of them Shuttle Heritage, 1 of them built from shuttle parts. And there you see them moving.
Oh là là, les cardans qui bougent.
Now we're going to start moving the power from both the upper stage and the lower stage of the rocket to internal, taking ground power away and now going to battery power.
Ah, c'est juste par pisser, maintenant c'est mort, hein. Je vais louper le décollage comme un abruti.
All right, power is removed from the rocket's upper stage, the ICPS, and it's been switched to battery. Same milestone for the lower core stage coming up in T-minus 1 minute and 30 seconds. Right now,
Pour le décollage fusée, mais là c'est historique, frère. Allez, nous faites pas une Apollo 1 ou une Apollo 13. Hein. Ah, je compte sur vous, les gars. Ah, nous faites pas une Apollo 13, s'il vous plaît. S'il vous plaît, ça. Allez, les gars. Redorez votre blason. Redorez votre blason. Budget.
There's no more hold time because there's no more margin on these batteries. So we would have to recycle back to T-minus 10 to recharge if we had a hold.
Grand là. Putain, ils sont grands les bâtards. Ils sont énormes. Ils sont hors normes là, les gars.
Right now, the rocket does not know what the T0 is, but coming up at T-minus 33 seconds, control shifts from the ground launch sequencer to the rocket's onboard autonomous launch sequencer, or ALS. The rocket will count itself down, but honor any holds that can come from the ground.
C'est un problème.
Now, shortly after liftoff, Houston will take control of the rocket, and my colleague Gary Jordan will take over commentary.
Allez. C'est maintenant que j'avoue. C'est now or never. C'est now. C'est maintenant ou jamais. C'est tout ou rien. Allez les mecs, allez. Putain, juste programme de puissance démarrage, putain les mecs. C'est maintenant.
10, 9, 8, 7, RS-25 engines.
C'est maintenant.
4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
C'est maintenant. Très la caméra qui suit pas. Oh là là. Oh, c'est beau ça. Oh la télé est prise. On voit la télé. Oh putain le chien. Oh putain de merde. Oh merde, il est pas. Oh putain. Oh la vache.
Target milestone. Mission Control Houston seeing good performance on board main engines. Space Launch System core stage. Integrity 3 miles in altitude. Traveling more than 1,200 miles per hour.
On a Houston. Oh. Elle est partie si vite. Elle est partie si vite. Mais si le temps. Mon Dieu. On se croirait. On se croirait à Apollo 11. Oh la vache. On se croirait à Apollo 11.
Have you the same?
Oh là 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 là.
Communication signal transfer confirmed as
C'est un
integrity
grand
and
moment. C'est un grand écran, les mecs. Putain.
14 miles in altitude, 8 miles downrange, traveling more than 2,600
On
miles
est
per hour.
grand. Putain de merde. Ça y est, on y est.
1 minute 50 seconds of mission elapsed time, standing by for main engine throttle down to 85%.
Ah, je vais voir la séparation. Oh, séparation des boosters. Séparation des boosters.
2 minute 9 second mark.
Séparation des boosters.
We see
Oh.
throttle down.
Oh, les zoomés sont enculés. Putain. Ouais, vous méritez.
Confirmed
Là, vous
separation.
Putain.
Main engine's throttling up, guidance converged.
Séparation des boosters.
Integrity, guidance converged,
Putain, il est déjà 6 août.
nominal, upper stage RCS ready.
Copy all, Stan.
Oh là 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 là. Allez.
Integrity, SM priming complete.
Oh, c'est bon, le RCS est ready. C'est bon. On est bon, on est bon, on est bon, on est bon, on est bon. Les gars.
Thrusters on integrity
Oula.
and upper stage confirmed in a ready state.
Putain, bleu la flamme. Putain, c'est badass. Séparation.
3 minutes into the flight. Integrity, 49 miles in altitude, 78 miles downrange.
Séparation. 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 Séparation du premier étage. Je déconne. Oh. Pouf. Et séparation du premier étage. Non, séparation de la tour de...
Standing by for launch force system jettison.
Ah, séparation de la tour. La tour de sauvetage.
Putain. Copy, jettison.
Oh là là.
Team Eco 8.
Quand tu vois la tour se barrer, t'es en mode... Yata.
We see you sail on board, Stan.
Putain de merde.
And Houston has you loud and clear on Tidris at the common
Putain,
line.
ils ont pas... Putain, c'est génial. C'est génial, c'est génial.
3 minutes 50 seconds into the flight of Artemis II, Wiseman, Glover, Cook, and Hansen crossed the boundary to space with good comm checks. GPS signals acquired after last jettison now working on internal checks to verify accuracy.
Putain, c'est bon ça.
Flight dynamics
C'est bon.
officer analyzed the time of main engine
Voilà,
cutoff
mais
confirmed at 8 minutes 2 seconds, time of MECO.
Oh, c'est badass, hein. Attends, on focus 32. Ça fait déjà 4 minutes. Hein. Oh. Allez.
Integrity, GPS processing.
Outstanding, Stan. We see the same, and we have a beautiful moonrise.
GPS
We're headed right
is
at it.
ready. Oh là 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 là.
Approaching 5 minutes into the
Putain,
flight,
oh là
Commander
là,
Reed
oh,
Wiseman confirms he has visuals of his destination. GPS guidance,
de
navigation, and
bâtard.
control software finishes internal checks and sends to navigation channels.
Pour l'instant, ça va. Ça pulse, hein. Ça pulse, ça pulse.
Integrity, 3 engine press.
Ah. Séparation du premier étage.
3 engine press.
On time, now passing 5 minutes 20 seconds of mission elapsed time into the Artemis II mission. At this point, 3 good main engines are all that's needed to carry integrity to a nominal main engine cutoff target. Though at this time, we're seeing 4 good engines here in Mission Control Houston. Integrity, 75 miles in altitude, 330 miles downrange, approaching 10,000 miles per hour.
Integrity, looking good at 6 minutes.
Same on board, Stan.
Good trajectory and engine performance. Booster officer will soon report
Oh
the
non,
shutdown
non,
plan to
non,
Flight
non,
Director
là,
Judd
vous avez pas le
Freeling,
droit de faire ça.
expected at the 7-minute mark.
J'ai pas le droit de faire une simulation sur ça.
78 miles in altitude, 460 miles downrange.
Putain, par contre.
Integrity, expect nominal shutdown.
Par contre, j'ai pas le droit de faire de simulation sur ça. Non. Non, on doit suivre ça sur caméra. Je suis désolé là, les gars.
6 minutes 40 seconds of mission elapsed time. Shutdown plan is as expected.
Shutdown.
Again, the time of Miko was confirmed at 8 minutes 2 seconds into the flight. Seven minutes of mission elapsed time. Throttling down as we approach the abort once around option. Milestone at the 7-minute 30-second mark. Now 84 miles in altitude, 650 miles downrange, traveling more than 15,000 miles per hour.
Integrity, AOA open.
15 000 mph, putain, ça doit faire 23 000 km/h.
The window is now open for an abort once around option that would target splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. Still following nominal ascent at this time.
Je vais vous dire ce que ça fait 15 000 mph. Je vais le convertir sous la main. Vitesse. Vitesse, voilà.
About 10 seconds remaining until the main engine cutoff of the Space Launch System core stage. Standing by for confirmation of Miko and core stage
15 000.
separation.
Ouais, je vais dire 23 000, mais c'est 24 000. 24 000 km secondes. Heure, je veux dire. Pas seconde. Oh putain, parce que 24 000 par seconde. La séparation! C'est génial. Pouf. Ils ont réussi, ils ont dégagé le gros toyo qui est là. C'est soit... Ah oui, ils ont dégagé le gros toyo. Le gros carbu.
8 minutes 40 seconds into the flight, we have a nominal main engine cutoff heading in the right trajectory on the way to swing around the moon. Core stage has separated, done its job. The Space Launch System upper stage, the interim cryogenic propulsion stage, or ICPS, still attached to the Orion spacecraft.
Ah là, on a augmenté à 18 000.
9 minutes of mission elapsed time. Integrity crew of Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen now in orbit around the Earth at the beginning of their journey to the moon.
S'ils prennent la même formule que là, s'ils arrivent à refaire ça, dans un mois, on est sur la Lune.
Integrity Houston, looking ahead to PRM numbers so far per the pad.
Le bip d'ouvert. Et là, normalement, t'as le bip de fin de communication. Et là, t'as notre bip normalement. Mais il y a eu le bip! Il y a eu le bip!
Stan Loves now reminding the crew that the perigee raise maneuver time of ignition is as expected prior to booster ignition. That time being 49 minutes, 50 seconds of mission elapsed time.
Integrity, good. Neds deploy.
Copy that, Stan. Good, Neds.
And Integrity Houston for PWD setup. Just a reminder, halfway open on the secondary.
We copy that, Stan. Halfway open.
Passing 11 minutes of mission elapsed time. overhearing the conversation between Capcom Stan Love and Commander Reed Wiseman, already passing some milestones. We have a good nozzle extension deployment system. That is confirmed, complete. We also have the visors are confirmed up, now past the dynamic phase of flight, that is ascent. Their launch and entry suits.
Bon, maintenant qu'on a eu la preuve que ça s'est bien passé, les astronautes sont en orbite, on a gagné. On va arrêter là parce qu'il est 18h47 quand même et je commence un peu à fatiguer. Et je suis content. Je suis vraiment content, je vous dis à la prochaine et des bisous. A plus les gens.